allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, any changes or adjustments to the agenda?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Trustee Sarah Tiley. Here. Trustee Diana Coots.
Here.
Trustee Christine Newman.
Here.
President Richard Horner.
Here.
Trustee Diane Dennis.
Here.
Trustee Jim McPhail.
Here.
Trustee Lois Tiley.
Here. Next item on the agenda is the approval and adjustment to the agenda. We did that, I got a little out of line. Next item will be the council minutes approval from the last meeting. Anybody have any questions on those?
The other thing, I just want to reiterate that we do need to do that about the sidewalk program. It's in the minutes where we talked about that. We do need to get together and have procedures, okay? And brought to us for approval. And no changes, everything looked good.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of December 12th as presented.
Second,
I'll
I'll
second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, commission and committee reports. Park and Recreation, any questions on that one?
I had a question. We need to ask if anybody has any comments. Okay.
I walked right by it. I'm sorry, what was that?
You did a public
Wanna go
hearing.
from here? Yeah, I'll
That's okay.
go ahead and grab it.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
Let's go back to the public comment. I'm sorry I skipped that. You all look so calm and quiet out there tonight. I didn't think there was any. Nothing tonight? Okay, moving on to the committee reports. Anybody have any questions on the Park and Recreation?
I did. Under the projects, phase 2, the pergola and more flower beds.
Yeah.
Is that more work that we can keep up with, Matt, or,
Yeah, that's something that the DPW is gonna take care of.
and they can, it's not too much then? Okay.
That's our own, we decided, right?
Yep, that's gonna
Where
be,
is he? Over there.
And
yeah,
then,
that's, oh, sorry, that section's gonna be our baby, if you will. We're gonna nurture
The
it. and take
beautification day is not doing anything with that.
care-
also, on the back, about Little League, did they come in here and ask you about it, or did you, well, it looks like you attended a meeting?
Yeah, we tried to head them off this year instead of having them come to the meeting and gave a list of demands. They came directly to me and we sat down and talked about it, and then we set up a meeting to talk about priorities, and then we met with the Parks Committee to kind of ease them into the questions that the Little League folks had, and now we're gonna meet again with them as we move through the budget to kind of mesh everything together and see what the Park Committee thinks as opposed to them coming and making demands, so they backed off of that from last year, so we're
That-
working together.
That should make it smoother here.
Do you think they now understand how it operates?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we met twice so far, so, and we
Because
had.
I don't think they got it last year.
They did not.
They were new.
They were new, and we have, they've delegated interaction with us to the same people, because last year we met with like 3 or 4 different people at different times. So it's the same people all the time, and we've got like a little working committee going, so it's much better.
In the past, well, we used to put diamond dust on way back, and then they decided we didn't know anything, and then they wanted to do it all. and it has worked very well. They do what they want. But, I think whatever works well is our best bet on that, because I think you can get into some problems if you, but it's good to meet with them.
Yeah, we're meeting with them. Don and I have talked about this. We think some of their concerns are easier than they believe they are to fix. So we're gonna do some simple things to kind of show them what can be done if you just put your mind to it and kind of make the best of it. So that's what we're gonna try to do next year, and as we go through the budget, we'll talk more about that.
They had a great fundraiser that pretty much did all they wanted last year, so I know they get a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I also know, and I think they bought a set of bleachers, didn't they?
They did, they bought metal bleachers. I think they bought two of
So
them,
they can do real well on their own, but it's good you're keeping in touch.
Mhm.
One thing would be nice, I noticed the beautification committee this time sent us like an accounting and, you know, a report. It would be nice if we could get something like that from the Little League too. I think, you know, because it just lets us know how they're spending their money, what they're doing, because they're using our parks and stuff. And people have asked me, where does their money go? I don't know where their money goes, right?
I'm not,
I mean, we can ask them.
I'm not sure we need to know where
We
their
don't
money
need to?
goes. I really don't.
Just
The next thing you're gonna know, it's gonna be part of our problem.
Okay.
You know, and just letting them use the park and not charging them for it. That's kind of our contribution to them. And helping out when we can, but I don't think you wanna jump too deep into that,
No, because
unless you wanna take it over.
No?
Yeah,
No, I don't wanna take it over, but I just think people tell me that children are involved in the Little League and they don't know where the money goes.
well,
how the
they need
money's
to go
spent.
to the Little
Right.
League meetings
Yeah.
and find out where their money goes.
Let people know that.
But
Yeah.
I think
They
how
have
we've
the
been
lead.
doing it is, they
Okay.
do their
Okay.
thing and we just kinda know what's going on. I think that's worked best.
We just get a schedule from them, don't we? This is when we're gonna use the park.
they've never given us a schedule. Well, at least not in the last couple of years. They've been in flux too. They've had new members, old members, bad members, good members come and go.
Yeah.
But they're gonna give us a schedule this year once they get it down, so that we'll at least have it moving forward.
And last time we did talk about the concession stands, they had to have a hot water heater or something, or will they buy that, or is that something we're gonna get into? Or a storage place too, do they have enough storage there, or do we have?
They've got some storage in the concession building itself, but what they've asked is for a place for the umpires to keep their safety gear, that they don't have to have access to the other Little League's stuff, like the food and and some of the other stuff they have at the concession. So what we've talked about is like letting them use the pool office for that or something, because it's right there,
Yeah,
and just
Or one of those little rooms
yeah.
without the windows or anything that people can break into.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a little simple solution that we came up with for that. And then for the water heater thing, I'm not sure what we'll end up doing with that. I think the park committee was gonna suggest that we maybe just get one for them, because it's gonna be like a small one. We'll put it in the building and it'll be there. But that's something we can talk about throughout the budget too, if that's what
And then
we wanna
they'll-
do.
okay. Well, thanks for keeping with them, Matt.
Mhm.
I think if we stay on the edge, we're all right, but
Yeah.
we got involved once and it was like you said, this person was in charge and came to us, that person, all different people wanted all different things, and, okay, thanks, Matt.
Are they talking about the concession stand in the garage or the concession stand in the pool building?
The garage.
Okay.
The garage. Their goal at some point is to be able to cook and sell hot food
From that garage?
from that garage.
Concession stand.
Yeah, so that's what they're trying to
They
get.
used to.
Yeah. So that's what they're trying to get, a little input from us and see if we might be able to help them meet that goal. if
And
we
they'll
can.
pay the health department fees.
Yeah.
Anything else? Let's move on to the planning commission meeting. Anybody have any questions on that?
When I read through this, I saw that, and Chris is here tonight, that she had a strong, consensus of what should happen to the EDC.
Can you tell me why you wouldn't wanna shut that down? I mean, why did you think it was important to leave that open?
One of the questions was, is it hard to start it up again? You know, like, do we keep something going?
Please stand up here so they get a
I'm
recording.
sorry, Chris Savage.
We wanna record you.
Chris Savage. One of the questions was, is it easier just to keep it or dissolve it, and what's the problem if we ever need it again? Is it hard to, start it back up again? So that was one of the questions.
Okay. Well, my answer to that, we'd just start one back up again. Because most of the people that belong to the old one, we don't know where they are. So to keep that going, we'd have to just kind of start it up all over again anyway. And there's no need for it out there right now anymore. We've already done the LDFA, that's the reason we did it, was to get the local development finance done, and we've done that with it, and all that's left now out there are wetlands and lagoons,
Exactly.
so.
I didn't know if it was ever gonna be needed again, so.
Well, if it would, it wouldn't be there, and so we'd have to probably start a new one for somewhere else, so, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
answer my question.
Hey, Matt, you wanna turn the mic on?
Are we not on? Little circle button.
Just leave it on.
Is it on?
Testing. 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 Testing.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay, any other questions on the planning commission? Next one up is the personnel committee. Do you wanna do anything with that now, or leave it go to Leanne?
It's just the minutes, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on the table. The rest of it's at the end. The
Yeah, I
rest of
thought, I
it's
thought
at the
we could
end.
talk about
Yeah.
those when we get into the evaluation, okay?
You can accept and file, and then once we get to the
Right.
end, then we'll talk about what
We
happened.
can go with the rest of them.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept and file the reports from the committees?
I make a motion, we accept and file.
I'll support.
All those in, or,
Yep.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Carried.
Mhm.
Communications, Saginaw County Parks winter schedule.
Looks like they were hoping for colder weather.
Yeah.
I don't think January is gonna go through very good.
No.
Maybe the birds of prey. The birds of prey one.
Yeah, they're still up
No other questions? No questions. Beautification Day, thank you letter. If you want us to read it, or, I don't see any, do you?
there.
And a thank you card from Cindy White.
Wait a minute, I have a question on.
Go ahead.
Education Day thing. I went to a meeting, well, three of us went to a meeting on Monday,
Mhm.
and I think this is what she was referring to, and we hadn't gotten it yet, was the, expenses,
Okay.
okay? And on here, if you look, they had a total expense of $6,200, and their contributions were $3,600. So they're actually starting out this year $3,000 in the hole. So, I had asked, and I think this might have been after you left it, why the big discrepancy, and she said it was the mulch, the wood chips and the mulch, and we had kind of talked about that while you were there.
Mhm.
And I just wonder if we shouldn't do something out of community promotion, because we are the ones that ordered the wood chips from Everett, that made them. She said they usually spend about $800, and they spent $3,200 this year. And that we gave them $1,000 from the DDA. Is that the only money we give them? That should be up here in the donations.
I don't know exactly which budget is, I don't have it from me, it's one of the two. It's either community promotions or the DDA.
I'm trying to see.
Let's see.
Well, neither one of us are listed.
No.
Says the village of St. Charles.
Yeah.
Does it say Village of
Yeah,
St. Charles?
Village of St. Charles.
Okay,
In the
so
second.
that could be either us or
Second
the
column.
DDA. I don't know, I just wondered what you guys thought. I've never seen them start in a hole before. If we should offer to help them or just give them what we normally do and see what happens?
Do we
What do you
usually,
think?
do we usually do 1,000?
Yeah, we do. I don't know.
I have no problem
I mean, we have a
with
community
beefing it up a
commercial
little
fund,
bit,
right?
yeah. We're the ones that benefit from it.
It is mostly our stuff that's
Yeah.
taken care of.
Yeah.
It's mostly our stuff that's mulched, I think. I just wondered what everybody thought.
No, I like the idea.
Would we talk about that at the budget? That would come under budget discussion?
Yeah, I think we haven't, I would assume we have until May to decide what to do, because they don't spend any money again now till
May.
beginning of May, probably. It's gonna be the mulch again this year,
Yep.
right? And you're gonna look for different places to get it?
What's that?
Or are they gonna look? Are you or they gonna look for different places to get it,
For mulch?
for mulch?
I don't know. Well,
Somebody mentioned
We'll go
bark
to-
haulers.
we'll go to
CJ.
the meeting,
Oh,
I think the
I
meeting's
got
on.
mulch from Bart Collins, it was terrible.
Expensive? Oh, bad
No,
stuff.
not so expensive, but I put it down and here's this, it looked like a big mushroom growing on there and then it looked like somebody vomited. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. I will never
Okay.
buy mulch from them again, you
Um,
know,
Well,
any place.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we had, Don had, I can't remember actually who had the good idea of taking our mulch, spreading it all the way out, treating it with whatever they said, all those words were way
Roundup or
over my
something.
head.
Mhm.
And letting it lay there in the sun for a week, and then bring it back up, and then a lot of the weeds would be
He was
eliminated. What did,
talking compost.
Yeah.
compost, our compost,
Yeah, but I don't think we wanna put that on top.
on top of what?
The mulch
Instead
goes
of
on
mulch.
top,
Oh, I know, the mulch goes on
Oh,
top of it, we
oh.
talked about that too.
yeah.
That's more work for, the village, but it's just a matter of spreading out that.
For our
No.
compost, we'd have to have it screened again. I mean, it's not usable the way it is, it has to be screened.
Well, you thought it would be usable if it was just treated.
No, that was Jay talking,
Well, that was Jay talking.
yes.
Okay, see, I got confused.
Yeah, I was
I'm
just
sorry.
over there and I looked at it,
Yeah,
and it's, I mean, there's all kinds of sticks and twigs and.
Well, there is, it's
Yeah.
whatever's left over. after
So
we
it
use
would
it.
have to be, it'd have to be screened, like, didn't we have Walker
wanna
come in and do
screen it for
that?
us for nothing?
I think so.
No, he won't do it for nothing, he'll do it for $40 a truckload. Which isn't bad.
That's not bad.
Not
Walker
bad.
said
It's a
we'll
truck,
do
what are you
that.
talking?
We're talking a
yards?
full-size
Five
dump
A
truck.
dump, a
Five
dump.
yards?
A dump truck, yeah.
Anyway, that's something to think about.
But, in terms of looking for other providers of the mulch, we'll talk to Beautification Day about that at their next
Okay.
meeting and see what they have ideas and where we can get some ideas. The problem was, where we normally get it from didn't have the machinery
Yes,
to ground
what
it
they
up,
said.
so when we went to look for it, the only people that had it available were like middlemen. So they
Right.
had bought it from someone else
Retailers
and then
instead of
retail sold
wholesalers.
it to us, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
so they need to tell us ahead of time, well, they're gonna measure, remember? They're gonna measure.
yeah, they're gonna measure.
Or are we gonna measure?
They said they were gonna.
Okay, to find out how much we actually, they actually need, I don't wanna get involved in this.
Well, and
Okay.
it's a better approach to measure the square
Yes.
yards or whatever we need
Cause
instead
they
of,
said there was a lot left over.
there was tons left over, and I think that might have been part of their overage, cause they bought way
Yes.
more than we
Yes.
actually needed, yeah.
You can't really save it for the next year.
It's kind of
Okay.
use it or lose it type thing.
I'm done.
Okay.
That covers all that.
There's a thank you note from
Oh, yeah,
Cindy.
Mrs. White. Everything you know from Mrs. White. I will read that one. It says, thanks to everyone at the village office for the beautiful plants sent for Tom's service. Thanks also to those on the village council for the photo collage frame and the resolution to honor Tom. It is beautifully written, so touching, and will forever be a treasured memento. Signed, Cindy.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that, Matt. That was good.
Good job. payment of claims. Do we have any questions?
Oh, of course.
We always have
Oh, I
questions.
do.
let me know what
But I have
page you're on.
questions about the account balances report. Prior to 12.
Okay.
Did you get 12?
Oh,
12 copies.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, see, what had happened was, we,
Well, this ought to be good.
no, some of the reports we print, and they're two-sided, so they're more difficult to make copies of, so we just print the number of copies we need. But when we set them out to put the packets together, we made full copies of everything that was in the stack instead of separating the 12 out already. So it was a clerical error, that's
And the
my-
same thing happened to the
It-
resolution,
It
deeper in the
did,
packet.
that was my fault.
Which I might add makes it impossible to get these things out of the yellow envelopes.
We'll put it on a diet next time.
Yeah, heavy.
Okay, I have some questions on the invoice register.
What page you
Let's start with page 1.
on?
Rockford advertising for the Michigan Trail magazine, what is that?
Yeah, the DDA pays for an ad in the Michigan Rail Trail magazine
Okay.
to advertise the park
Is
and
that
the
once a
DDA.
year?
Once a year, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and they put a little quarter-page ad, and this magazine is at all of the rest stops in the state and many of the like truck stops, gas stations, things like that. It's just a good advertising piece for downtown. It connects the rail trail to St. Charles a little bit, so.
They had a nice picture, a little story about it one time in there.
Yep.
It was
yep,
really
so-
nice.
So,
Okay, so that's a DDA.
Yep, that's a
consolidated
DDA,
fund.
yeah.
Also on the same page, the Facebook promo for the Farmers Market Fall Festival, why do we, for a Facebook promo you paid?
Yeah, that was just a late thing. They wait until you get over $20 to bill you. So that was just a late payment.
I wasn't aware that Facebook charged you to put stuff on there.
They do.
You're advertising for it, and the farmer's market pays for it.
Oh, you mean in the Visa bill, you're looking in the Visa bill, okay.
No, yeah. I'm
Do
doing
any
Facebook.
kind of advertising you
I have one more on page 1, as long as we're on page 1.
do. Page what?
Page 1,
Oh,
is DOT physical, is that the MDOT physical, or is that?
Yes, the DOT physical, Department of Transportation physical.
Okay,
for the driver.
okay, just 2? Do they like have opposite years or something?
I think,
They were at different times of the year.
Okay,
They're all due whenever they're due, so not everybody goes at the same time.
I'm on page 2.
Well, I'm on page 3. What did
Well,
you
I'm
like?
on page 2 because I
Okay.
wanna know who these people are.
Okay.
Let's go to
Um,
page 2.
who is Connor Yeager getting a clothing allowance?
those are police officers.
They get clothing allowances?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
Their uniforms.
Don't we just buy their uniforms?
Well, they get their uniforms when they start, and then they have a clothing allowance to either, fix something that's broken or clean it. throughout
Is
the
it called a cleaning allowance?
Well, there's cleaning allowance, clothing allowance,
Well, to me, that's not the same thing. We provide their uniforms. And then I thought they got cleaning allowance for dry cleaning to clean the uniforms. That was my understanding of what they have coming. And I don't understand what clothing allowance means. I mean, breaks what? Breaks something?
no, like if, they need a shirt, the buttons come off, or it rips or something like
We don't just provide them with a new shirt?
that. We haven't,
We don't make them go in that room in the back and look for a shirt that fits?
we do if they find one in there, yeah.
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 Okay, then explain to me, is this allowance part of their pay? Do they get this as things break, or do they get so much money a year, or are they getting a stipend every quarter?
They
What
get-
is this?
They get paid twice a year, so the full-timers get X amount, and then the part-timers get a lesser amount. Twice a year.
I assumed when I saw clothing allowance, I thought that meant new shirt or pants or something. But
I
it's not
always
replacement?
understood it was cleaning, for dry cleaning only,
Yeah.
not to go out and buy a shirt.
They-
I mean, it's just given to them, it's called a cleaning allowance.
They've had two separate things in the time that I've been here. They get it paid twice a year.
Well, they got the cleaning allowance twice a year.
Yeah.
But there's something else called the clothing allowance that they've gotten.
Well, I'd like to really look into that before we, negotiate anything for raises and stuff, because I've never heard of that before, okay?
I'm on page 3, and I just have questions when I see all this Michigan State of. On page 3, we have the NPDES annual permit fee and the statewide records management. What are those?
The NPDES is our sewer, our annual sewer, discharge permit. And so we have to do that in order to maintain our lagoons at a particular level. And then the statewide records management system, I'm actually not 100% on what that one was. Do you know what that one was, Jenny?
I think that was for the police.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's one underneath it for the police.
Oh, you know, this, oh, okay, I know what this one is. This is the, like the MICR system where the police department keeps their, like, crime statistics we have to report to the state. Correct me if I'm wrong, John?
Okay.
That's
Is
what
this
it
a required thing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think if the state was gonna require that they would not charge us,
Oh,
right?
no, that's not true.
I know, but that's just.
That's wise.
Definitely not true.
Oh, no, they make it up so they can charge us for it.
Anytime I see state of Michigan, I just, oh, you know, here we go. Okay, all right.
So on page 5, your conferences and workshops, are those mandatory for your job?
What's that? I'm just playing catch up.
On your mileage reimbursement, are your conferences and workshops mandatory for your job?
It's part of my contract, yes.
Okay.
I take it on page 5 that, that 901, the third one down, that, was that for the dump truck?
I believe so.
It was less than what you approved, so.
Yeah, the
There's
repair.
two things in there.
The repair was $1,000 less than council approved, so.
661 is equipment, so that 792 is what it costs to fix the truck.
No,
No?
it's about 2,000 there.
Oh, then that's not this bill.
Who's it to?
This is Horger's
Horger's
Farm and Auto.
Where's that?
There's equipment repairs and then miscellaneous in 691, general, someplace in general.
Yeah.
You see December is misspelled down here. I always pick up that weird stuff in there. I don't know why.
We had to replace all the batteries in the dump trucks.
Okay.
All the batteries in the dump trucks were, I guess they had been just charging them up before they used them every time. So we had
That's
to-
convenient.
Yeah.
No comment.
Don't they charge too much for batteries too, I'm telling you.
That was a deal.
Mm.
Any more questions?
On any other questions? If there aren't, I make a motion, we pay the bills in the amount of $69,811.64.
Support?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. New business. Nomination and appointment for a mayor, president pro tem.
You want
we-
nominations from the floor? Are you going to suggest or what?
Well, I'm just gonna try to explain this. I talked to Diane and she didn't mind, and I'd like to have a motion to nominate Chris Newman for Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll make the motion to nominate Chris as mayor.
Is there
I
support?
support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't need a vote for that, do we? I mean, roll.
I
No,
don't think so.
I don't think so.
Thanks.
It shall be done, and
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
we'll get you a new flag.
Thanks.
You need more
we think you have the
responsibility.
experience, you know, come
You don't need one.
Next item is the GASB 75 retiree healthcare actuarial
Actuary. Evaluation.
This stuff just boils my blood. You know how I am about this. We're already set up through the state with all this stuff for our retirees. And now, did the state put this rule on us? Are they saying we have to do this?
Well, it's kind of a mix of things. This is actually a Government Accounting Standards Board requirement. So when we do our audit, they're gonna be required to count our retiree healthcare liability in our fund balance calculation. And in order to get that right, we have to pay for an actuarial to determine what that cost actually is. So in order to be compliant with the new rule, we have to spend money to have an actuarial on our OPEB liability, which we would have had to do anyways from GASB 45, which is done every, I think, 3 years or something. And we had it done before, and we'll have to do it this time.
Do they have different people doing that stuff now than they used to?
What do you mean?
Well, we used to get actuarials from retirement every year, and it always said to us, oh my goodness, you're in fantastic. You are so good, you don't have to hold out your retirement anymore. You can stop withdrawing and paying us for retirement. And then a new actuarial board came along and said, oh my goodness, you owe us a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on which one, how do you know who's doing what and how they're doing it? I mean, how do you trust people to tell you what you need to know?
And I think particularly with MERS is I think what you're referring to. They made bad assumptions back then, and I don't
did.
know who was around.
Well, and I, for one, did not listen to them at all. We just kept paying, And I don't know where we'd be if we wouldn't have kept doing that.
Yeah.
Because some people stopped, like the townships and the county, and they're in big trouble. So, I'm leery of actuarials. I don't trust them.
No, it's all a guessing game. I mean, there's a fair amount of math and science in it, but at the end of the day, they're making assumptions about investments that
They're
happened
saying
for 30
your
years.
investments are gonna make 8%, and guess what? It makes like 0.1. So that makes a huge difference in the end game.
But don't they create their own tables that they're basing it on?
They do. So you have nothing,
It's one of those.
and then we pay them $5,200 to tell us something that we probably don't believe anyway.
Right.
And that's for 2 years.
But then we have to work
52.
by that, right?
The 5,200 is for 2 years, is that correct?
Yeah, part of it is for the audit coming up, and then they have to do preparation work for the next year.
Or is this just 1 year?
Part of it's for the audit that's coming up this year that will be our current fiscal year end, and then part of it is the legwork for the next year coming up. They have to
Will
do-
we have another cost then next year?
I think they explained it in their proposal.
They've got it broken down in 2 parts, 3,900 and then 1,300.
Which is a total of 5,200,
Right.
which is what?
I'm just wondering if we're gonna get stuck with paying them each and every year.
Do we have a choice?
We have to do the evaluation.
I mean, we don't
We're
like
picking
it,
a
but we.
firm. We're picking a firm because we
Yeah,
have to.
we have to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
And according to Matt, most people in this area are using Watkins Rock.
And we've used them before.
We've used them before. They've done our OPEB stuff for a long time, and our auditor prefers them.
I was gonna say, does our auditor
Yeah.
like them?
Our
'Cause-
auditor
okay.
prefers them, yes.
So that we have to go with that at least for now,
Yeah.
until we see
Well,
something else. But I
Nobody
just-
else quoted you anything, did they?
No, they haven't got back to me. No.
I didn't like some of in their contract there, I would, well, they're gonna go according to our current employee handbook, but we never totally improved that, or approved it. But they want social security numbers or other unique identifiers. We're not gonna supply them with our employees' social security numbers, are we?
No, we usually just give them
It's just payroll
it's
totals.
just
isn't it?
payroll totals and the information that they would, like, our retirees would have retired on, like, what was the personnel policy at the time, you know, Deanna retired, what was she going to get as a retiree health benefit? Generally, that's what they need.
Cause I don't think we should be supplying any social security number to any outside agency. That we have to protect our people.
This is just for the health part of retirement?
Yes.
Yeah, this is just for the retiree healthcare.
Healthcare,
Because
okay.
GASB 75 only deals with retiree healthcare.
Okay.
Remember, a couple years ago, GASB 68 went into effect, and that was for the MERS pension benefit.
Yeah.
So the same thing is gonna happen with the retiree healthcare. Because they moved it from the notes of our audit into the body of the audit and include it in the calculation for fund balance. They're doing the same thing here.
Okay.
And a note on that aspect, when they do that, it's gonna make it look like our fund balance is worse than it is. So that's another caveat to it too.
That's why you look at the cash balances report.
I know.
So you need a motion? Anything else on that?
I don't think so. I mean,
I don't see how we can not do it.
I don't see
No,
how
we
we can
have to
get
do
around
it.
it, but I just, it bothers me that they, people put these rules and regulations on us that always cost us money. We're the
Yeah.
one that, our taxpayers foot this bill.
What else are we gonna do with that
Well,
money?
the federal government does the same
We
thing.
have a lot of other things we could do with that money, come on.
It's not just the state government, the federal
Fed-
government.
State,
does it.
federal government,
Yeah.
both.
The government says you gotta do what you gotta do.
we need a motion to accept them.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I put the wording in there that would work is, motion to accept the proposal and allow me to execute
I'll make the motion.
the administrative services agreement.
Support?
I'll support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll vote yes, and I'm not
Yes.
happy, okay, but I'll do it. We have to do it.
Opposed? Are you opposed?
No, I said I'd vote yes, but I'm not happy.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't hear that as being a question. Motion carried. Recreational marijuana,
Yes.
what do you got there, Matt?
Well,
Is that the one you gave us a second copy of?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah, I gave you a copy of the letter.
we had 12 copies of that.
No,
Yeah, I
12
got 20
copies, 12 copies of the
The
ordinance.
ordinance, right.
But I couldn't read the bottom of this.
Yeah, the letter was awfully light.
But he gave us a second.
Yeah, the last paragraph, or the bottom paragraph on the first page was weird. Our printer is going out, so. I went to training on marijuana, and what I learned is there's more questions than answers. And, most communities are looking at 3 options to deal with this. It's unlike medical marijuana where if we did nothing, we automatically opted out of the program. With recreational marijuana, we have to actually say what we wanna do, or else it kinda goes into effect automatically without our say. And the state has a year from the day the initiative went into effect to take care of that. So we have a year to kind of decide what we wanna do, before that happens. And so, like I mentioned here, there's kind of 3 options. We can do nothing, and then when the rules are promulgated at the state level, then recreational marijuana facilities will be allowed by default. We can opt into the program and determine what we want to do with it, where we want to put these facilities, or confine them to an industrial area or whatever. And then the third option, which has become the most popular throughout the state, is to kind of opt out and not allow the facilities until after the state pretty much tells us what the rules are going to be. And then we have the opportunity to go back and say, okay, now that we know what's going on, let's do whatever it is council wants to do. So I honestly think the most prudent thing to do after talking to our attorney is to maybe opt out now with the potential of opting in later. Because once we opt in, we can't change our minds and back out, because if a facility opens up between the time we change our mind and the time we approve it, we can't go back on them, and now
Can't undo it.
can't undo it. So it's easy to say no now and yes later than it is to say yes now and no later. So that's food for thought for council on that one.
And I think about 3 weeks ago, I think it was on the MML website, and they had said that at that point, there was 80 communities had already registered opting out.
Okay.
And there's more, they were more coming up for vote after that, they had said, but I think it was the MML website that I went on. But the thing on this is that there are no, this is like the Wild West on this. There's no rules, there's nothing set in stone. We have no idea. If we don't opt out, I just think that we're really setting ourselves up.
It's basically start place to start.
Without rules in place. And it's like, I just asked Matt, the 12 plants alone, which has nothing to do with this, we can't do anything with that part of it. But 12 plants, that's a forest. And
24 if you're married.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I asked Matt, there is something, I looked for it, and I couldn't find it, a clear definition on whether when you plant it outside, like if I had it out in my garden where I have all my cucumbers and everything, it just says that it should be contained, pretty much. So in the rules in St. Charles is, in most communities, 6 foot tall fence is the most. I can't go taller. These plants can get 7, 8 foot tall. So is that legally contained? And people can steal, the kids can reach over the fence and grab it. And I just think this whole thing was
Well,
not
it has
thought
not been
out
thought
at
through.
all.
And I think it's a nightmare. I think Matt's plan here, this is a good plan. I read the contract, I
Yeah.
like the contract. There was one thing, just a cleanup typo. It says shall take effect, we need 2019, that says 2018, just make sure that gets changed. Yeah, I think it's good, because I don't think the state has put any thought at all into what this is, and I do make a suggestion, we, on the planning commission, we, in our zoning ordinances, made places for different things. I think the planning commission needs to be aware of this, and we need to look at possibly that when it does come up, where we're going, because obviously you don't want a place like this by a church, a school. I think that the downtown business people don't want it down there. And so I think that all gets to be, something that the planning commission needs to take a serious look at for just to be prepared for if and when the state acts on this. That's my suggestion, okay?
Basically, to get started, we're going to need to pass ordinance 19-1.
No, actually,
No?
you have to set a public hearing
Oh.
for a future council meeting, or a special meeting if you choose, to take public comment on the ordinance. Then at that meeting, you
Oh,
would,
because it's an ordinance.
yeah.
Another question on this, and I don't know if you got an answer on that, is because M52 is a DOT highway, can we regulate what's transported on the village roads as far as commerce?
No, in fact, part of the recreational marijuana law is that local communities cannot regulate transportation of marijuana whatsoever.
So even if they step off M52, we can't do anything with that?
The only thing that the municipality has control over is whether a marijuana, they call it a marijuana establishment, is
Alright.
inside.
Not business, just an
They
establishment.
call it a marijuana establishment. They have levels.
Yeah.
It's not the same as the levels for medical marijuana, but there's different types of establishments.
Mhm.
And you would, the communities that are allowing it would have a different type of permit for each type of establishment, whether it's a secured facility or like a lab or a retail
Production, manufacturing.
or a secured transporter business. Those are all considered establishments under that initiated law. What this would do is basically say, we don't want any of that. We understand that we can't regulate transportation, possession, or anything other than establishments. So, for all intents and purposes, at this very moment, it's legal for anyone over 21 to carry less than 2.5 ounces of marijuana.
So if the township somebody said it was okay, and there was an establishment in the township, and they sold marijuana to somebody inside the village, they can do the transaction even though we vote against it,
Well,
inside the village.
That establishment would have to be outside the village, because the village is.
The establishment would be outside, but the transport and sale would take place in the village.
Well, they can't sell it. They
Well,
have to
that's
give it
my
away.
question, because they're transporting and doing business with it, it's not an the establishment is outside of the
The
village.
transaction would take place.
The
at
transaction would take
establishment
place at my
outside.
house.
Where they transport it then after
Yeah,
that.
but you can't do that, can you?
I
Well,
don't.
that's what I'm asking, yeah,
Yeah.
because now they're stepping,
You can't sell it, you
we
can
have
give
a
it to
rule
somebody.
that we can't, do the business in St. Charles. We can't have an establishment. Are we saying that we can't do any transactions? Business transactions, that's,
I think,
can we do
I
that?
think the open air transactions are restricted. If you have a facility that sells it, that's where the sale would
Then you
take
can
place.
sell that.
But as I mentioned in the way they explained it, I'll put it like that, the way that it was explained to me by the lawyer from the MML is that you can't sell it in the open air, however, you can give it to anyone. I could walk down the street and give, you know,
Yes.
the president 2.5 ounces of marijuana, as long as there's not a financial
As long as it's a
transaction.
gift.
It has to be a gift, but
Yeah.
one of the loopholes in the law that they identified to us is, I can also sell you a T-shirt for $40 and it comes with a free bag of marijuana.
How convenient.
You can gift it.
Right.
It's just so
It can
wrong.
be-
I know.
It is so wrong.
They've already found the loopholes around
Yeah.
it. It sounds like.
That's why I was asking, because,
Yeah.
you know, with the, we're not allowed to regulate, and that's what the way I read it. And the way, when I went to the meeting last year, if it's passed across the state, there's certain things that we would not be able to regulate, no matter what. And the way it was kind of explained was, if it's a DOT highway, state-run, then they can do whatever they want if it's a state law. But when they step off of it, we may be able to regulate transactions, movement, anything inside the community. If we control that road and it's ours, it goes under our rules.
That would be a question for an attorney, because the way they explained it to us is that transportation,
Well,
or the
can-
courts, you know,
So
transport.
you're saying, this is what I think you're saying. If it can come down M52,
We can't do anything.
but if we had, somebody over here who wanted to buy it, he could go out to M52 and buy it,
That's what I'm
and
wondering.
then bring it back, but can he only buy 2 point whatever ounces?
Yeah.
2.5.
2.5.
So you could have like a milk truck. that came through
Exactly.
town. Is that what you're
That,
thinking?
an ice cream truck,
Okay.
exactly what I was thinking, yeah. And is that legal? Is there a way we can regulate that?
I
Well, I
think,
don't know, that's
I
a
think
traveling
because-
business.
They gotta pay for the
Because
long truck.
if I can go online and purchase my groceries and have somebody at Myers come and deliver them, and I just write them a check when they come to my house, can I do the same thing here if the establishment is 20 miles away?
I don't know.
You don't sound that way at this
I
time.
don't think there's anybody who has an answer to
You
that
can use
question.
this truck.
I think that's part of the confusion,
Yeah.
is that there's probably nobody who has an answer to that, yeah. And I think that's why it's popular for folks to,
Happy
say
recreation,
Kenny
Yeah.
Hill.
Definitely.
happy recreation for.
Diane says we can use this truck.
Yeah. Didn't we just get a dump truck?
We did, but this is a county truck.
It's
even
not
better.
funny, but
It'll
we
be
might as
happy
well find
recreation
humor in it,
time.
because the state doesn't know what it's doing, obviously, and so we're
No,
stuck
I
in
agree
the
that we
law.
need to,
Okay.
Do we need to
opt
do a
out.
So what-
motion on this, or just a consensus?
He needs to set up.
yeah, so if this is the road, if the ordinance that I've given to you to look at is what you wanna talk about and go down the road for, you have to set a public hearing to, take public comment, and then at that meeting, you would take it up as an ordinance
Do we need a motion?
So
to
you
do
need
that?
a motion.
A motion to set the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to set the public hearing extend for the
At the
marijuana.
February.
At the February meeting, the next meeting.
Support?
Yes.
It's been supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Let's go on the agenda.
This one,
Recreation partnership participation. With the county.
Projection for project recreation, partnership participating.
My question is, why do we have to
You can use
partner with
mine,
them
yeah.
just to
Here,
give
it is
them
over here.
permission to use our
that's
park?
fine.
No, that's fine.
I think it's
You
just,
can use it.
I think it's just a good way to do PR for both of us, to say that we're partnering with the county to expand recreation programs to our communities through the, both the St. Charles Area Parks Commission and the Saginaw County Parks and Recreation Commission.
Well, the Parks Commission liked it, so I'll go with that. But if there's destruction or cleanup or anything else, who's gonna be responsible for that?
I'm sure that they'll clean up after themselves, and if they don't, we'll clean it up, and I don't know, it's really, they're gonna pull that little bus up, they're gonna have the kids play some games, and then they're gonna leave.
And then why not Coal Miners Park? You know, I don't understand, why do they want to use back there? Do
I
you
think
know?
they wanna use it
Connected to
cause
the
it,
rail
cause it
trail.
connects to the trail. Yeah.
Are we gonna, clean it up?
You mean in advance?
Is that
Yeah.
supposedly, is there poison ivy?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. that's-
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I think what they really want us to use either the parking lot or the big grassy space.
Well, they wanna stay over where the picnic tables and pavilions are.
Yeah, I think it's possible, cause they bring the truck and then they have these big games that they, like
I see that.
inflatable games.
Like the umbrella game or whatever it is.
Yeah, so I think they just need
Parachute games.
space.
Parachute game, yeah.
that's fine.
So I think they need space. And then they wanna put a sign out that advertises the programming. That's
Does the
the main-
county, furnish the sign?
They furnish the sign, they furnish all the equipment, and we don't have to pay for anything.
When we have
Too good to be true.
a group of kids come to that area, we don't need any special insurance or anything? If something were to happen to those kids, or?
No, I mean, it's under our umbrella, it's a park generally, so we expect kids to be there. So they're gonna have insurance, we have insurance for the general liability, so I don't think there's really a major issue with that.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the river and the,
Well, as long as they don't slide down the waterway that's built over there, though.
Right.
Sarah brought up a point here too, and in my thinking about it, and you wanna voice that?
I don't think it's safe being that close to the river, especially with that many kids that are gonna be there.
There is a
It
dike,
just,
though.
it just
There's a
doesn't
dike.
seem safe to me.
I wondered about the river too, but I didn't know, that's why I asked, do we need insurance?
Well, there is a dike there, like Chris mentioned, and it's pretty far away from the river. If they're gonna use that grassy area, it's like between the road and a dike, and then there's a pretty long distance to the river there. I don't think they're gonna set up a trampoline next to the river and have the kids playing on it, but, if it's too dangerous for this project, then it would be too dangerous to have a park there generally.
Well, they're doing it at the other parks that have rivers.
Immerman, yeah,
Immerman
Yeah,
has a river and,
yeah, that's all those out there.
And the other thing too is they're staffing it, it's not like, they're not dropping off a bouncy house and then going.
so they
to
must
lunch.
have so many adults per,
Yeah.
Child then, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they-
and is that something too that we could, I mean, just say, you know, like the orange, what is that? Gate stuff with the holes.
oh, like
Like
a snow
snow
fence?
fence?
Yeah, to put up along the river when they do that even. Is that an option?
I don't know the answer to that. I can ask them what they do when they set something up and then kind of explain it more to you guys.
and
I don't know how they set it up like that. I think most of their games are self-contained. So they do this thing called Gaga Ball, and it's like a big, like inflatable pit, and there's some sort of ball that they kick back and forth or something like that. But they're inside that the whole time. It's not, my understanding is that they're not, having free reign of a large area. They're all confined because it's a program there's staff that manages it.
so they wouldn't have a
see it.
fishing or none of that?
Yes,
Not,
I don't-
just the game stuff?
I believe so. I don't know that for sure. I don't know.
That bothers me. One request I'd like to make is somebody who lives along that rail trail. Our road has had significant thefts happen from people coming off that rail trail. We've had 3 bad ones. Our neighbor had a 4-wheeler stolen. I mean, these are not small things that they they take, you know, right, and we do suffer significant losses from that thing. If, on the days that we have this, because my perception is that they do wanna access that rail trail somehow for their activities, can the police on duty that day just kinda keep a little extra watch out for what's going on, that we keep people out of our yards so they are not at least aware? We've had people go right in and out building and pull stuff out, right? So it's just, to me, it's a concern, anytime that they bring in a volume of people down that rail trail, that scares me. Who else is going to come down there and see what it is they can make off with, you know? And that would just be my request, could we do that, or?
Sure.
Well, do they bring the kids in a bus? Is that what they do? Or do the parents just bring their
I
kids
think
and drop
parents
them
just
off?
bring their kids.
I would assume they brought their kids and dropped them off.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't have a problem with that.
Do I hear a motion for the project recreation partnership participation?
I move to get
Involvement?
involved with that.
I'll support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll say aye.
Opposed?
And if we're not happy, I'll say, let's get out of this.
Yep,
Okay.
you can.
That's two for everybody.
We always can.
There goes our truck.
Anyway, motion carried. Departmental reports, DPW report.
In the
Nothing to
park, it
report.
says you're finished mulching till spring. Did we get that whole park mulched? We're, oh,
Yeah, we did a couple weeks ago, we took all 3 tractors down.
Okay.
I mean, there's more leaves down now. 'cause-
so thank goodness it didn't snow. Yeah,
But there's
it helped.
there's still leaves on the trees too, so,
Okay.
yeah, we did actually took 2 days.
And it's really wet, every place, it's really
It
wet.
is. Can I ask you this question, which has nothing to do with this report? Why do we have the fall, winter, eagle, all those flags are still up? Why don't we have just the winter ones up?
I thought we took them down.
They're all up. All of them are up. They were up during Christmas, they were up. I mean, the fall ones look kinda odd with the Christmas trees. Where are all the Christmas ones?
Good question.
There's
I'll have
just
to
some
see-
out there.
See what the guys, I know they were looking for some.
I would suggest they find them or order them, but let's take down the fall ones, let's take down the eagle ones, and, you know, get up the winter ones. Nobody else noticed that.
I didn't, now, you know, I don't get that picky, but,
Okay,
to
I'm
me, if it
picky.
looks nice,
Okay,
it
I'm
looks
picky.
nice. If
Thanks
it
for
looks bad,
mentioning
it
'cause
looks
I guess it's
bad.
new to me too. so.
Yeah.
But I don't, you know, I'm not one of your picky people, okay?
Okay.
I know Bart and, he kinda looks at that, so I know that.
Okay.
He was changing flags, but,
Tell him I noticed that.
okay, I'll let him know.
They're all out there
Yeah,
right now.
get the
so.
period correct one.
Tell him seasonal to keep Chris happy.
Yep.
Are we done picking apart?
I am.
I know, we are.
Oh,
How about,
how do we do with the surplus sale?
We did $8,000.
Okay, did we sell everything?
We did.
Okay.
Everything went.
You got a check, right?
Did we sell anything that you wish you had back already?
No.
Okay.
Is that, on the list, it said new idea spreader, is that the one they used to do the compost with, and so they won't do that anymore in the park?
Not that we can screen it now, I
Oh.
don't. They use that more for, they kinda aerate and break the chunks up. That's what I'm told, it's more for that than actual spreading it. They would use stuff in there instead of screening it, that would
Yeah.
break it up.
It just seemed like the grass was just beautiful after they
Yeah, but you
did
know,
that.
we did dump it with all the stuff. I mean, everything went out there with it, and now we're
Right, you had
screening
to-
it and
Right, you
throwing
gotta
it around.
pick all the sticks out and that
Okay.
kind of crap.
I didn't know
And
we
then-
had done that, did you, Diane?
That was
We're
actually, I
still putting it
think-
out there.
They used to work in the streets also to try and maintain our streets, the big cracks and things, and seal them. Was that machine sold too?
No, they have that, yeah, but I
Do,
don't know.
do they not do that anymore? Some said only parking lots or sidewalks, but they used to do it in the streets. And it kinda, downtown, there's so many cracks in that
Big
street.
crack.
from the post office.
It's labor intensive for what you get that small machine. We were talking about some chip and seal, I know a job at the streets meeting.
Yeah, but they used to do that constantly, and it did make the streets smoother so people wouldn't trip.
Sometimes if you get large cracks, falling snow and stuff, it actually tears it out in big chunks too, if there's large cracks.
Yeah.
So you're aware of them
Oh, we're aware the
Yeah.
streets are, yeah, we.
falling apart?
And
Well,
people-
we know there's issues, I think we got a meeting on that coming up.
Okay.
People really, townspeople complain constantly, and I just say, go to the office, let them know.
But people, I have to say this, that recently we were driving around both in the city of Saginaw and in Durand, right? You think our roads are bad?
Yeah.
Oh
that's
my goodness, there are roads that are horrible. I mean, it's kind of a Michigan weather situation and lack of funding problem. I think we have more than anything, right? So they're far worse than other places, so. So we're lucky on that they're holding up as well as they are, let's put it that way. And I know we have problems. But- Next one.
Let's move on. Spicer Engineering Report.
Yeah, I think you have a copy of my report. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
These 6 mechanical aerators that are all broken now, did they all break at the same time, or what on earth happened?
No, they've been breaking pretty steadily over the last 10 years or so. I know Tito's been taking parts from some to fix the other ones, and I think it's just to the point now where they've all failed. However, you're also already meeting your discharge permits, so we're looking to see if in fact they do need to be replaced, or if they do need to be replaced, is there another system that might be cheaper and better to use?
Okay.
So we're at a good point if we do need a new system.
Absolutely. You're in a great point, because you're meeting your discharge limits without them, so.
Right.
Yeah, they're obsolete and you can't get parts. for
Right.
them, and we've been
Yep.
cannibalizing other ones to make ones that I think
And what we found with similar systems that have lagoons, maybe there's a fine bubbler system that's a little bit more efficient and easier to operate and maintain. There's additives, if there's an odor problem, we can, do some additives. If it's a duckweed problem, it could be an additive also. So it really depends on, what our objective is. And again, you're already meeting your discharge limits, so maybe you don't need them at all.
And we're saving a lot of money not running those.
Right,
Do those run in the winter?
They could. if you-
Don't we pull them though?
They get tipped up. is the
Okay.
final thought too. If you ran them all the time, you wouldn't have to do that. no.
Okay.
Right. If you don't run them,
Then
then
you gotta,
we
okay.
tip them up, yeah.
Any other questions of Spicer?
I guess one thing I would like to say is, with the wastewater asset management plan, we are meeting on that, in a couple weeks here to have a work session and, go over our findings, talk a little bit about, what level of service the community wants to, have for their wastewater system, and then look at, the results of the rate study. We would like to present that to the council at the February meeting, if that's okay.
A rate study?
No, it'd be the whole asset management
The whole
plan.
thing.
It'd be the results of the asset management planning, including the rate study.
So that'll all be ready before we do a budget?
That's the intent. The intent would be to do the wastewater in February, the stormwater in March, and have the water and streets ready, for budget time.
March is budget time.
Yeah, March is.
Well, I mean, for
I mean, we passed our
April
budget in
1st,
March,
so.
yeah.
So we're all, we're making headway and we're ready to start presenting our findings to you.
And our lights still aren't up in the park.
The lights are not up in the park, but they did do some work on the electrical system.
Well, my husband told me he saw some trucks out there, so we drove by, but there were no new lights, so.
And then
So dark, eh?
Yeah, still
Oh,
nasty.
the old ones are still there.
Yeah, the old ones are still.
on the for the January 22nd meeting for the SAW grant, we've had a committee together, and I need one more volunteer from the council to attend that meeting. I think, Mr. President, you're going, is that correct?
we'll talk.
Okay.
Well, January 22nd. It's a Wednesday.
That was the
I'll be
date.
gambling.
When is it?
It's a
January
Tuesday.
22nd. I think it's a
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Oh,
So what time is it?
Yeah.
11:30,
11:30. I think it was 11:30 to 1 or something.
something like that, yep.
I can go.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Jim will go. That kind of makes sense, cause he's, chairman of the DPW committee, right?
I don't know this information.
Yeah. Jim,
Yeah.
the new one.
So so they'll be presenting it to the little committee that we have to, and that will actually be, that's actually a working session, cause they'll be asking some questions of the committee to determine some things for the report, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Police Department report.
I have one question, with all this new marijuana stuff, are the police incurring any difficulties with that, or?
I haven't heard anything from people doing the traffic stops over there. I haven't had any, we had the chief's meeting, last one, and the state police position is they're not going to arrest anybody for any kind of marijuana.
Really?
Even if they smell it, if they smell it burning, then you have an operating under the influence situation. If they smell marijuana, whether, you have no idea whether it's 2.5 ounces or a bale of it in the trunk. The state police position is, do you have 2.5 ounces or less? If they say yes, have a nice day. They're not going to.
Isn't there already something in the works to cancel out all,
Prosecutors, I don't know about
Prosecutions.
Saginaw County, but I know Genesee County, I think, is going, back to nullify a number of, possession convictions, so. Really, if
I
you,
know that,
the
but
risk
no.
of possibly what could happen on a traffic stop, weighed against an arrest, I don't know if it's worth that's probably what the state police are thinking too. Get
But
into
they-
a shooting over an arrest that's not going anywhere.
Right, but he would still, with, bad driving on the road, you would
Right, if
still.
there's burnt marijuana, then that's use, and, or driving under the influence, then that's the same as
Different.
drunk driving or.
Okay.
well, trying to do anything, once they just opened you up for harassment or anything, I mean, just all kinds of a
There's all
mess.
kinds of activists out
Yeah.
there just waiting, I think.
Exactly.
On camera, waiting for someone to, you know.
Spraying patchouli on themselves, just looking for a problem.
Now, I like patchouli, so let's not talk about it.
And I don't know who the police officers are anymore. I don't know the names, I don't know just like I didn't recognize the names in the clothing thing. Could we just like have a list with this piece of paper saying who our officers are, part-time officers? I don't care when they're working, I just wanna know full-time and part-time officers.
You could probably do that.
Okay,
can
I just think
include
that
it.
would be helpful.
I can include it for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
You know, especially part-time, they switch so much that I don't even know who's out there,
Right,
so.
And then some part-time
I
are
guess not that it matters, but.
30 hours
No,
or
it doesn't
more,
matter.
and some part-time are less than 30 hours,
They're all under 30.
Right.
all under 30.
Yeah, they can't work any more than 30.
Yeah, that's the thing we put in.
I was just thinking the other day, there was a time when I knew all the police officers in town, I could see them, I knew their names. Right now, I think most people don't know them.
Keep them long enough.
Yeah.
Okay, about our building inspector report, any questions on that Matt might be able to answer?
I did call Rob about that thing you asked me about, and he was on the road, so he didn't know, but he's works tomorrow, so he's gonna work on that in the morning.
Okay,
He wasn't sure off the top of his head while he was driving, so, we'll get back to you. I'll send an email. in
Okay.
fact, on that one.
okay, thank you.
And then, there is no, code enforcement report. Everything was from last month. We did write 4 tickets last month.
Okay,
Yeah.
Did we write one to,
Flint Street?
yeah,
We did.
Okay.
We wrote 2 on
looks
Flint
a
Street.
little
Looks
better,
better.
little better.
We wrote 2 on Flint Street, right next door to one another, so.
It is looking better.
They did, they moved a lot, but. Okay, we're back to public comment again. Anybody have anything they wanna step up and speak? Guess not. We're now to the contract negotiations, closed session.
No, not contract negotiations, it's manager evaluation.
I'm sorry, personnel report.
Yeah, evaluation first.
Yeah.
But that, you need to ask him if you'd like to go into a closed
Yeah.
session for that.
We
I
have
would.
to have a
Would you like to go
I
into
would.
closed session?
Yeah, so basically the motion has to be pretty specific. Basically has to be, to go in the closed session to evaluate the manager performance per the Open Meetings Act.
She's got it.
Well, somebody has to say it, because I can't make a motion.
I make a motion to go into closed session at Matt's request to go over the manager's evaluation
Per the Open Meetings Act.
per the Open Meetings Act.
I'll second.
And that's a roll
All
call.
those in favor?
That's a roll call.
We get a roll call, please?
Yep. Trustee Sarah Tiley,
Yes.
trustee Diana Coots,
Yes.
trustee Christine Newman,
Yes?
president Richard Horner,
Yes.
trustee Diane Dennis,
Yes.
trustee Jim McPhail,
Yes.
and trustee Lois Tiley.
Yes.
Did you guys want to adjourn to the conference room, or did we want to stay here?
I think we should adjourn to the conference room, so if people want to stay and wait for us to
Well,
come back. they
do we
can.
wanna close the other meeting? We haven't closed that, have we?
We're not closing the other meeting. We have to
You
come
don't
back.
yet.
Well,
Closed
Stays
session
open.
has to be.
Oh, all right.
Adjournment's at the bottom.
All right.
Well, I guess technically what, and our attorney is in the back of the room, so he can clarify. You should have closed the meeting,
Right.
opened
Adjourn the meeting.
Adjourn the meeting and open the public, or open the closed session, and then we would do the opposite at the end.
Okay.
Correct?
Do we have them?
Well, basically, I think
Well-
we're having an open meeting right now, so you're basically just adjourning for a closed session.
Right.
But this meeting still is in, session.
Until we come
So,
back
so
up.
when you come back, you'll vote to get, by roll call to get out of closed session.
Right.
And then the open meeting continues. So we're still, so the open meeting is continuing all along, you're just, doing this section of it in closed session.
So we need a motion to?
No, I think.
No, we didn't.
No.
You're in closed session right now.
You're cool. It was.
Okay, we're good.
So let's see, we gotta close the closed meeting.
Yeah, I had to have a roll call vote to open the closed session, to go back, have a motion to go back.
Close the closed session and open the open meeting?
Actually, it's a motion to go back into open session, so that would be the motion.
I make a motion, we go back into open session.
I'll support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we gotta
Oh.
have a,
Roll
we
call.
gotta have a
Roll
roll
call.
call.
Okay. Trustee Sarah Tiley,
I agree.
trustee Diana Coots.
Yes.
Trustee Christine Newman.
Yeah.
President Richard Horner,
Yes.
trustee Diane Dennis,
Yes.
trustee Jim McPhail,
Yes.
trustee Lois Tiley.
Yes.
Now, we need a motion to open the other meeting?
No, we're
We're still open,
We're
okay,
in.
all right.
Okay, we're good.
Gee,
Now we're here.
oh, yeah, back to the manager's.
Contract negotiation.
Contract
Old
negotiation.
business.
I'm just gonna jump into this. I say no to that contract. I don't like that contract. Wait, no. Okay. I want us to make up, I want you to make up this contract.
I know just on that issue, we had a contract that was used, I think, for Mr. Lane's initial contract. I think it was the one that we had been using for Mr. Mead when he was the manager. And so that, it did cover the items, it's one I've used in other townships and villages also. So that would be a possibility. I know that the one that Mr. Lane formulated, looks, I think he has all this stuff in it, but it doesn't matter, the terminology, those are issues obviously that the council would have to decide what they wanted, but I'd be happy to put something together for the council.
Okay, 'cause my point of it is, I just think that's proper procedure. I think it's proper procedure for us to prepare the contract and submit it to him for his review, and input and that kind of thing, because that's the way that I think it should go, as opposed to us getting one
That he writes and gives to
that
us.
he gives to us.
Yeah, it can go it's either way, but I think, obviously, you as the council are the employer.
Right.
The council as a whole, so basically, ultimately, it is the council that makes the decision of what you're going to enter into with this, village manager, so it's your call on that, I know that I've been involved in situations where we've done it both ways, where we had, an offer of a contract. I know I represent also the Saginaw Township Community Schools, and of course, we just got a new superintendent recently, and I worked in that contract, and that was where a group of, the committee from the school board met with the superintendent to be, and then they formulated together a contract that then was ultimately approved by the school board. So in this case, if it's the council's desire that you formulate the contract, we can do that, and then we'd have to put in terms then that were agreeable with the council as well as with Mr. Lane.
And see, I think because we're looking into February 1st, we set that arbitrary date, so I guess here's my question. I don't think we can do this without having another meeting. Does anybody else think the same way or not? That
We don't have any numbers together.
we don't have numbers together, and we don't have a contract to look at to change.
One thing I noticed also, at the last meeting when I was here the last time, it was back in, November, was it? I think October, November. We had set some dates ahead. I know at that time we had entered into a first amendment to the contract. We extended it from November 30, 2018 to, I think November 30, 2019, but that was just an interim thing, because the requirement under the council was they had to have a year extension therefore, that's why we made it a year, but we had internally stated, well, we would decide by February 1, what we need to do, and there was a time from November to now, to February 1 to do that.
So as you look at it, the contract that he's under now is still in force.
It's in force until November 30, 2019.
2019, so technically.
So this year?
This
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
correct.
2019.
But the idea was we had to do a year.
Right.
Under the rules of the village, so, and then internally, then we had an agreement on the record, that we would get everything put together. We'd have the Mr. Lane's evaluation, we would negotiate a contract, and we would get it all done by February 1, and that was what was decided by the council when we met back in, I think in November.
Okay, well, we just had his evaluation, but we don't have anything else that I'm aware of, that we have anything else together. And what does anybody else feel about this?
Well,
Can I chime in?
I'm looking down at the bottom, huh?
Can I chime in?
Sure.
It's just a proposed employment agreement with language that can change through negotiation. And my understanding from what council said at the previous meetings was we were gonna hammer this out tonight, which is why Gary's here, and which is why I provided this. We have a laptop ready to go, and we can change language and have Gary take a look at it on the fly, if that's agreeable, but.
I'd want to change just about every piece of language in there. That's my problem.
But, this isn't something that I came up with out of thin air. This is a typical contract for
Yeah,
a city manager.
I know you pulled it
And
off,
so-
yeah.
So basically, really what needs to be discussed is the substantive items for pay and benefits. Most everything else is typical language, and I think we shouldn't get caught up on that. There's really not much difference from this contract to any other contract you'll ever see.
I
So,
didn't pull out
I
the
would-
old contract. Did anybody else pull out the old contract to take a look?
No.
The one that we
Now-
extended?
Yeah, I had that here, I was looking at this, the one that Mr. Lane had signed.
And I've got an electronic copy here of everything so that we can do whatever.
What it
we-
was.
Of what it was, yeah.
Yeah, was signed by, this Doug Holland, who was president at that time, then by Deanna Keeler, who was clerk at that time. So this was entered in 2015, November 2015, so this is the current contract that's in place. And so
Can we use that for a basis to, or can we reuse that?
you can do anything you wish, that is an option if you wanted to go that route.
The problem with that is that I have significant opposing to some of the language in there. So that's why I proposed this. It's a typical contract. Some of the language in there is contrary to village ordinance. And so I don't wanna start the negotiation by talking about language. I'd rather talk about the main things, which is pay and benefits.
Okay, I don't mind hammering it out tonight, okay?
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah,
mind.
I'd rather get it done.
And I can get us started with one thing right now.
Okay.
Automobile, 2.6, how'd you know I was gonna do that? When you first came here, Matt, you were given a car that nobody could get in and out of, okay? It was the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
Yes.
I never used it. So, you now have a pretty decent vehicle.
Yes.
So I don't want, I shouldn't make it sound so negative, but I don't think we should have to reimburse you for any personal use of your vehicle, because there's nothing wrong with taking that vehicle no matter where you have to go.
I agree completely.
The problem with that vehicle is that it now has a computer in it, so if I go someplace out of the village and I park it for any period of time, it's open, unsecured.
What's open unsecured?
It has a computer and various equipment in it, so I wouldn't want anybody stealing anything.
Is
So is this
there- is
computer
there
in there, is
reason
this
that
a
you-
computer on a docking system?
It is.
Then take the computer out when you go.
Yeah,
It's that simple.
or does it have to
If
have a
you're-
computer in it?
If you're given a vehicle to use while you are conducting business for the village, we should not have to reimburse you to use your own vehicle under any circumstances. Plain and simple, you are provided a vehicle for
And the
work
insurance?
purposes.
They pay for the insurance? We pay for the insurance?
Right.
Not for my vehicle.
No, not for your vehicle, you have your own vehicle.
Mhm.
You have the option of, well, you don't have the option of not
So
having a
what it says in the
vehicle.
what it says in the current contract, which we can discuss the language over here, is any place in Saginaw County, I'm required to drive the village vehicle. Any place outside of Saginaw County, if I drive my personal vehicle, I'm reimbursed at the IRS rates. Because there are circumstances where I may be gone overnight for a conference or something. The village pays me to drive my personal vehicle on business for the village. I wouldn't wanna drive the manager mobile 1,000 miles to drive to a conference and park it in a parking lot for 3 days. Cause it has access to crime and vandalism. So I would drive my personal vehicle so it fits in with the crowd.
Where would you go that you would be gone for 3 days, that far away?
A conference.
So
Okay.
under
Conferences
those
every-
circumstances, there should be special circumstances made. Because, okay, say, like you said, 1,000 miles. It's gonna be cheaper for us as a council to buy you a plane ticket than for us to reimburse you at IRS rate.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree, and I used 1,000 miles because it was a round number.
Yeah, and that's
but
why I used it
the
too,
fact of
because
the matter
in that
is-
situation at
It's usually
1,000
about
miles,
50 miles, isn't it?
Well, if
50
it-
to 100, here, Grand Rapids, Lansing.
Yeah, it's pretty limited, so the reimbursement is gonna be bad, but it saves wear and tear on the manager mobile, saves, depreciation, it saves all kinds of stuff for me to drive my own vehicle, plus I'm away, I'm not in the village, I'm doing
Okay,
something
so
for the
then-
village.
a special circumstance, if you have to be gone overnight, that's a special circumstance. But if you are going to be going to a conference and back that same day, use the vehicle that's provided for you.
I just want
That's the way it
to
works.
point out, we'd have to change the language, because the current contract that we're operating off right now, under 6D says the use of motor vehicle to be used for work, says, in addition, if he's used his work vehicle, normally, it says, in addition, if manager uses his personal motor vehicle for out-of-county travel. he shall be reimbursed at the Benefit Village IRS mileage rates for all miles driven. So what the current contract is saying is that he has to drive the village vehicle in the county if he's going for his business work, but if he's outside the county, I guess for whatever reason, there was a thought at that time was that he would not be able to take that vehicle outside of the county of Saginaw, and he would use his own vehicle. and
Now,
be
you're looking
reimbursed.
at the
Correct.
original
Correct.
contract,
The one
we're all
we're-
sitting here looking at the proposal from mayor.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here,
It doesn't state what you just
and
said.
see, this is where we're gonna get into a problem. Here, big time. Oh, and because the way I look at it is we're not following good procedures here, okay? That I think, we had our evaluation, but we haven't had them on a regularly scheduled basis. We need to have the evaluation on a regular scheduled basis, and we need time to hammer out this contract. And I think the contract needs to be hammered out, first of all, with the council and the lawyer, to say, this is what this is what we think we should offer you. Then Matt should review it and say, about how he feels about the whole thing, and then it comes back for discussion. I don't know how we're going to do that between now and February 1st, because I think you're gonna get big, from a lot of people, you're gonna get big disagreements on different provisions of the contract.
That's not worrying too, I'm just giving my personal opinion, it's how you take it or leave it as you wish. I know it's very difficult with the large councils we have here to negotiate a contract, like right now. The question then is, as say like this, Saginaw Township Union School Board, has had a small committee they appointed who worked with, in that case, the superintendent, to formulate a contract, and then that contract that was brought back to the school board, who then, went through it and hashed out any differences, but it was something that was drafted, with the council in mind, but we didn't have lots of, because it's very hard to get everybody to agree to a majority of it at one time,
So
so.
we're talking a greater amount of time, that's what I'm saying.
Right, it
okay?
does need more time.
So I don't know how to handle this when we said that we would do this by February 1st.
Well, we told him we'd do that. That was the agreement we made when he said he would extend his contract, that it would be done by February 1st. And here we are at the January meeting, trying to hash it all out. That's on us.
Well,
I
I don't
think
think.
that's-
Well,
I
I disagree with
don't-
that,
yeah.
because December to January is not that long of a time.
Well, can we decide on that then, tonight, just that one thing, and
On what
Take
we're-
Can we
one
go
thing
through
at a
these
time?
point by point and just
Yeah,
kinda?
let's try
make
that, see
notes
what
on 'em?
Matt's got to say about it. Maybe he'll be willing to give us, if we're willing to give. We did tell the man that he would have a contract by February 1st,
Uh-huh.
so that if he decided to stay for a long period of time,
Evaluation.
he could buy a house.
Oh,
He could, make his plans here, because he wants to stay here. Like Jim said, can't we go through this point by point and tell Jim what we like, he can tell us what we like, come to a consensus, and then,
I do.
have him draw up
Oh,
a
my
contract,
God, yeah.
so that we can have it done by February
We'll
1st.
deal with it if that's what we have to do.
Well, never mind, I guess what I think
Most
doesn't
of-
matter.
It takes our.
Most of the provisions in there are stuff that I already have in one form or another, and a lot of it's the same language.
I-
If we wanna do the same thing I have in my contract for the vehicle, that's fine with me, that's the way it would happen anyways.
And it's gonna be give and take, either way.
Yes,
We're gonna have to give and we're gonna have to take, but I do agree with Jim in going point by point here.
yeah.
Okay, well then let's start.
Expressing our
Yeah.
feelings on what we think and then
Lead this.
going
Yeah,
on.
so we wanna go back to the
Decide
beginning?
And decide what we
Go from the
want,
start.
can we decide what we
Yeah.
want on this contract?
I'll start with employment and
And
duties.
the lawyer can decide here, he can make a point whether we're right or wrong, or if
do you
it's
have a
legal. or-
copy of the proposed one?
Okay.
I do, yes, and I'll take notes also.
Okay, let's start Article 111, okay? Is there anything in there that we think we need to change?
No.
No,
No.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, let's move on to 1-2. The duties of Mr. Lane.
I'm
It
fine
says he
with that.
shall fulfill the duties of the village manager of the village of St. Charles as directed, required, and permitted by state law, the director or the village charter and the code of ordinances of the village of St. Charles. Mr. Lane shall at all times perform such duties in an efficient and a conscientious manner, exercising his discretion, judgment, and authority in the best interest of the village. I don't see nothing to change in there.
I'm good
No,
there.
that one's okay.
1.3, exclusivity.
I'm good
I agree with
there.
that one too.
That
I
one I
can't,
agree
these
with.
big words. Need an attorney to read these.
I just ask if anybody
I'm-
has any problems with the numbers.
Anything with 1 through 4.
No.
It's good.
No.
Okay. Put bigger bites here when we're gonna get done. How about number 5?
I'm good.
It's good.
That's good. All right, Article 2, 2.1,
Problem.
Big problem.
big problem. Okay, you want me to
Is-
read it or you read it
No,
No, I don't
yourself?
have to read it, I read it.
It
Thank you.
is the old, well, his salary now up to 70,000. That's a increase of around 5%, a tiny bit more. All other employees are increased 2%. Don't you think 5% is too much?
I believe that's the general consensus, the way it
Yep, I
sounded.
think so.
So what are we proposing?
And I don't want to say that it's gonna go up to $70,000, you know, cause it says it's, effective April 1st, that his salary shall go up to 70,000. So
Is
I mean,
it-
so that should go.
It's my understanding when I read that this is now gonna become an open-ended contract.
That's what it says.
There's no end to this contract.
No, we need to have an end to the
Unless
contract.
somebody, it could be canceled by either party.
Where are you
Well, yeah,
reading
the-
that? What number is that, are you reading that on?
I'm just on still 2.1.
2.1.
There's,
Okay.
there's not gonna be any, I mean, he's laid out here, the rest of this year, which I guess I thought you were going to agree to work at your current rate through the rest of this year, and then we would look at raises depending, and that kind of depends on the evaluation you just received and things that we set out that we want you to do.
Well, this just says that I would, because February 1st would be the new contract start day if we approve this, I would just get paid my normal, what I'm getting paid now until February 1st. And then, or starting February 1st till April, and then on April, with everybody, with the new budget, I would get paid whatever it is we agreed to. And then the 2% increases is
Oh, I
for-
see, this goes till April 1st.
Yeah, because the new contract still has to address the fact that I am currently working, so if the salary changes on April 1st, I still have to get paid my normal salary. And then the 2% is the same thing that we came up for everybody else, it's not an open-ended thing, it's 2% for
Yeah.
6 years and then stops.
But you wanna start at 70,000, we're just at 66.5,
Right, that's my proposal.
so that's your proposal. So,
What's 2% increase from 66, who's got it?
67,915, and then the second year would be 69,273.
67.
what's the third one?
The third year would be 70,659.
That must be the fourth year, cause there was the one in between. You go from 66 to 67, 67 to
9,
69.
and 69 to 70. 2%, 2%, 2%.
And that's what everybody else is getting.
If it's 66,584 plus 2%, that gets you to 67,915. Add 2%, 69,273.
273. And then 70 what?
7659.47.
So there is
Is
no ending date
2%.
to this contract, right? Then you're saying there's no ending date?
Well, there is, because
Where?
he proposed, well, not to the contract,
Okay,
to the wages.
okay, I'm talking about the contract.
I know, no, there is no end to the contract.
After the 6 years, there'd be no more raise.
The only way we could, I hate to say it this way, but it's not get rid of, give me another word for get rid of. The only way we could unemploy Matt would be to pay him 9 months severance pay according to this and
Well, we
send
don't
him on
wanna
his
do
way.
that, I don't think.
Unless I did something wrong.
Unless you do something wrong,
Right.
like illegally wrong.
But that, yeah, because when you define cause in this, to me, that it's not as inclusive as
I
it needs
think
to be.
cause should include not doing what council has asked, in addition to the criminal
Right,
things.
Not
If
you
following-
ever
got
not
there.
following
But here's the
directives.
thing, he's
Yeah.
got in here that if he gets let go, we have to give him 9 months' pay, and then he goes in here to at will. If we're an at will employer, then we
Well,
don't have
we-
to give you any amount of time, we can just
Well,
say
yes, we do.
bye-bye.
If it's
No,
by
no, no.
contract.
If it's in the contract, this is the only person we have a contract with, okay? I want you, Sarah, I want you to
The other
understand
guy
that.
will.
We don't have any other contracts with anyone
Mhm.
else. Our contract is with the manager. And so in this contract, it states, everybody else here is an at-will employee, and I don't believe we give severance pay. I never did.
They get their PTO payouts if they
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah, and, so in his case, because he's a manager, it could come on suddenly, he could have to leave quickly, and he needs some time to get a new position. But I'm not sure
And then you
9
go in
months is.
here where it says, Mr. Lane maintains the position of village manager at will and serves at the pleasure of the village
Yes.
council. His position can be terminated at any time with or without cause.
That's
But
true.
if
That's
it's,
true.
but if it's
That's still
without
true.
cause,
Then you go down a little further and it says, if we get rid of him without cause, this is what we're gonna give him.
You see, currently, it's 90 days, and I think Mr. Lane is recommending 9 months, but right now it's 3 months, but.
That's what I always
He's,
thought
and
it
he-
was.
and he's, he's requesting that it be
But I
extended
think
from 90
that-
days to,
but
But
3
we
months
jumped
to
way
me.
ahead to
months.
5.2.
Yeah, 9 months is
I
a little
noticed that.
extensive.
Yeah, I guess.
Trying to find out where you guys
You
are.
can't find another
We're
job
ahead
in
of
9
it.
months.
So,
So I think we're gonna have a big hang up on salary, I think we're going to have a big hang up on severance,
that's,
where are we
Let's
at here?
negotiate
the,
that.
the hang up is that you're saying no and not asking any questions or making any proposals.
Why do you
So-
feel
Well,
like you
that
need
is the
9 months?
proposal. If that was our proposal back, what are you proposing back this way?
he's looking at
I
salary,
didn't,
right?
I didn't hear a proposal. I heard no.
Read it to him.
Well,
You
it
got it
was,
wrote down.
the thing that Jim figured out, I
2%?
believe, was 2% every year. What we're eliminating is the big jump between 66 and 70, correct, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, so he'd go from 66 to 67.9,
Yeah.
April 1st,
Yeah.
yep. And then the following April, it would be 69.2, and then it would be 76, that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
70.6.
70,659. And then, somehow you have, it would then be still 2% for the next 6 years?
For the
No.
6 years starting
3
February.
Oh, that's on top of the
So
70.
that,
3
Okay,
years,
so-
it'd be 2%
so you
for
would
the
take
next 3
these-
years.
So you would take this out and
Oh.
just do 2% until we got to a certain point.
Right.
And
After
then
6
we're
years.
giving you,
is it 6 years or 5?
It's 6 years.
Yeah, everybody
So you
else is
start,
Because you have a starting point
and
and then
then
you go
5 additional years.
5 steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you have,
not to exceed 7,726,286.
Yeah, and that would change with whatever changes are made, so whatever the last step is would be plugged in there.
This number here. That's still the 77.
No,
That's
he's,
the 6 years.
yeah, so we need to go out 2 more
2
years,
more years
Jim.
on that.
Yeah.
We can do
we
that in
need
a
to go out.
spreadsheet if you want.
So that would,
Six.
it's,
Okay.
okay, so it would go, here it is.
2% for
Per year.
2%.
Okay, so right now he's at 66,584.
Yep.
2% would give him 67,915.
Yep,
Starting February.
2% would give
No.
him 69.
April.
That'd be
April.
April.
Oh, sorry, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
The next year would be 69,273.
Yep.
The next year, 70,659.
Yep.
The next year would be 72,072. And the next year,
Five.
73,514.
And what's the 6
And
year?
then 74,984.
That's a lot of money.
Mhm.
for a little town like us, yeah. Well, do you think to offer something different? Anyone have any
Well, we just
ideas?
Wait a minute, we just
Yeah, I mean,
did.
this was what
We
we
just,
wanted.
She
we just
said-
lowered it.
I know, but she said that's a lot of money.
Mhm.
It is, but it's 2% like everyone else.
I mean, there's nothing you can do to change that at that point with 2% that you have to give.
Well, we don't have to give him 2%.
No, that's
for
what I
6
was
years.
saying.
Okay.
But that's what
That
everybody
was
else
just
is
But
what
that's,
raising.
yeah,
other people
that's
get.
what everybody's getting, that's what we had proved to other people to get,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so. But I do agree with starting at the 66 instead of the 70.
yes, yep. And I think Matt would be pretty good with that too.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't-
So if we go
I
up
mean, I don't
2%
wanna
like.
seem too easy.
See, I don't
But
think,
but there's other stuff that I want more than money.
there's other ways we can give you different kinds of money. I mean, we can put money into a 457. We can put money, I mean, there's different ways we can get you money.
And he just said that
I
that wasn't
just,
so important.
it's not all about money with me. It really isn't. There's other stuff I want. I'm trying to look for stability. I said that before.
Yeah, I
But you
think,
do understand, it has to go back with what we want to, that we
Well,
do,
yeah.
we are important in this too.
It is, but it's a back and forth, and I think the way the council approached it in the last time we tried this, it was dictatorial.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah,
not
it
the way
was.
it is, and you have to understand that I do have a say too. I
Yeah,
do.
but yeah, and ultimately, if the council says we can't do that, then we can't do that.
But that's the
You
point of
understand that.
negotiation, to get
It
to a
is.
point.
I'm
where we
willing,
can-
I'm wondering if you would be willing to look at a situation where you just go out a couple of years with the 2%, and then you just accept whatever the other employees get. It would just be, hopefully things will get better and you could get 2 or 3% increases, like, take their increases as your increases, and so whatever they get, that's what you get.
It does say that,
It says that in
it
there,
does
but
say
they
that
all get 2%
in here.
anyways.
So it would be 2% no
And
matter what.
the only way I
Yeah.
would get anything more is if everybody got more.
But we capped, if I could remember, we capped, and we talked about that for the, police chief and for the DPW guy, we put a cap on that. Didn't
Well,
we?
Yeah, 6
They
years.
got almost to where you were.
6 years.
They got,
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, they
but
got a
that-
6-year
that-
cap.
that
Everybody
cap,
has a
you
6-year
know, that
cap.
came to an end, where that was capped.
And this would be capped too, so after 6 years, I don't get any more
It's
raises.
right here, Diana, you wanna see that?
Yeah,
So you would cap out at
most-
74,984.
75, I got
That's
94.
around
Is
where
it?
Hal was making when he left.
Did
I
you say,
don't-
Jim, 75, 985?
No.
He said
74,984.
No,
94.
74, okay,
Yeah.
I wrote that
And
down.
that's around where Hal was making when he left, and this will be, have been here for almost a decade at that point.
And I understand that, but Hal was getting paid differently.
He was paid
Two
for 2
jobs.
positions, he did
He
2
did
jobs.
2 people's
He did.
work.
He went up like a $10,000
I understand.
thing.
So it was,
I
so he
understand.
But I understand, that's what we were paying him,
Yeah.
but now we're paying Don.
two.
But I'm wondering, would you be willing to do that? And then we go into that, whatever that thing is we made up,
Here it is, Chris, you wanna see it?
that thing.
Yeah, it's defined in here too.
Studies.
And you're gonna put yourself into one of these things.
I'm gonna, yep.
Now, is
Okay.
that 5 years or am I dense?
It starts and then goes up.
You get paid every 5 years, $500.
That's the longevity thing.
Yeah, that's the thing you would go into, right?
Mhm.
We're capping everybody that way, kind
Yes.
of.
Yep.
So I have to tell you, I don't have a huge problem getting the 74 in.
I just thought you were
that
gonna get it
many
back.
years, because The other way,
I agree with
when,
that a
when
whole
you
lot
start
more.
at 70, you did get too
Yeah.
far up. It's
Yeah.
way too much.
He's willing to go with this,
It's
so I
more-
think,
Yeah, I
Well,
agree
I
with
had
that
to
plan.
give you guys something to reduce.
Yeah,
Well, let's give
Absolutely.
Mr. Campbell some language here then.
2% for how many years, folks?
Okay, effective April 1st, he will be paid not 70, he will be paid,
67,915.
yeah, 67,915. Blah, 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 blah.
and then
2%
2%
every
for
year
the
after
next
that.
6 years.
are the employees kept at 6 years now too?
Yep.
Yep, all the ones hired
After-
recently. and-
Okay,
and then-
so
and
6
then-
years is what it is.
And then we bumped Marguerite up a little and put her in the same bracket as Jenny.
Okay,
Cause she was below where we wanted her position to actually be paid at.
okay, yep.
Okay, Mr. Lane's salary shall never be below what figure? That should be 67,915.
It's actually 67,915.68
67,915.68.
to get them at the number that we had figured, but
Never
you
You
can
can probably go
round
with
it.
67,915.
Right, you
Or
can
make it
round it.
60.
I don't think, I'll give
Yeah,
you
just-
65
Yeah.
cents. That's what we
Shall
got.
not exceed how much? Shall not exceed, 74.
74,984.
Or make it 5, that's an even number, 985.
Oh, please don't screw up the words.
Well, there's probably
2%
some
works
sense,
so well.
there's
There
probably some
is.
sense in there.
There'll be
Yeah.
sense in there.
Yeah, yeah. You don't see that he's having a hard time about that.
So in other words, under 2.1, we say that you'll have a salary amount of 67,915.68 per annum as of November 30, 2018, is that?
No, as of April 1st,
April
2019.
April 1st, okay.
Unless he'd prefer to wait till November for that one.
So April 1st,
Oh, come
2019.
on, he's
not.
not gonna, you'd rather have.
Well, I'm just
it.
asking the question.
Easy, he did
So,
say.
so I guess the question, and this is way off topic, but the question is, if we approve this, it supersedes the extension, right, Gary?
Yes, this would be, what we had is the
Yeah.
extension, this would supersede the,
As of.
This will put
First
you on
Amendment.
an April 1st pay date.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a new
It's
contract.
anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah.
That works with the budget too.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it goes with everything.
Yeah.
It's actually gonna make things a lot
I think they're
easier.
counting this year.
That's the election too.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
hope.
they wouldn't.
But yeah, that would put you on with everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this contract then would be, the current contract would be in place until April
And they
1,
go up,
and then we start
like
with,
he's making
67,915.
Yes.
66 this year. so
Yes,
next
and then we're
year's
gonna go up for
2%.
6 years.
Mhm.
2%.
2%.
And then he goes into the longevity stuff,
Shouldn't we make it the same?
correct?
It's 6
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, I don't want anything
Yeah, I don't know.
different than what the
Yeah.
other employees get.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
my main
Not
thing.
according to the
Right,
scale.
and I think that's
Right,
fair,
where you at?
because he's not asking for more than the other employees.
I think it's fine.
I think
It's,
it's fine.
I think everybody has done that for a long time here,
I
actually.
think it's 6.
When you start here and you go up 2%,
I think
2%, 2%,
The issue of it is when you live in this town and you know what people make a year.
Oh, is it only 5
You know,
years?
it's a yearly salary.
Not 6.
Well, they have a
It's a lot,
starting
you know.
point and then 5 additional years, so that is 6 years of increases. I
And that's what we
believe.
have right here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Your starting point is 67,915, that goes 5 years after that one.
I think they're looking
Okay,
at
But
Mr.
it's only
Kimball, if
5
we do this
increases.
kind of open-ended contract at any point, if we say we wanna change the
It's what we're
contract,
doing.
what would happen?
Is it?
Because
We
we're
would-
starting
we would
at
Oh,
67,
You
so that's the
could,
first one.
You
And
could read
then that's their first one here,
But it, it's,
And then they
it's,
go
no,
up
it's
for
open
5
ended,
years.
so,
and he's going up for
Um,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
that is
I
an
see what
issue.
you're saying now.
I just.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, that
okay.
first year, that's
Negotiating
where it
increases
starts
is
date
first
on
year.
there.
Got
Say,
it?
well,
Yeah.
it's
Got
one
it.
year
Okay.
Or a specific time period.
Is
It's
it
the same.
agreeable to you?
Okay,
That
people,
pay
did you
raise
hear
is
that?
Starting at 67.9?
Yeah, that's really what I want.
Okay.
But I was asked whether an open-ended contract could be renegotiated, and, I guess the only thing is if agreement on the parties, you could negotiate to renegotiate the contract, but it's not legally in the contract that can be done.
When we get this set up, our only choice is gonna be to fire him, or he quits.
Correct.
See, I don't like that.
That's an open-ended agreement.
I don't like that.
That's not been an agreement. I see, so I guess that's the question, is you want to discuss, where you want to have some, the question, I guess, is whether the council wants to have the ability to renegotiate a contract down the road sometime, after 6 years or whatever, because.
I think we need to do it sooner than that, that's, yeah, I think it needs,
I'm
then
not,
that's just
I'm not
me.
amenable to that. The village ordinance requires that the manager serve indefinitely.
Where do you read that?
It's in the village manager ordinance.
You're kidding me. We need to go through those ordinances one at a time and change them, because that never used to be in that ordinance.
It's 2.76 in the book.
I'll look that up.
But
I was here, that way. I mean, I didn't, I didn't do a contract all
I
the
think if you
time.
get to a point where you think you wanna try to renegotiate, there's probably a problem anyway, and you're
And
gonna
we
wanna
should get
fire
rid of
him.
you. I mean,
Yeah.
he knows what we expect him to do. Now I wanna go to how much money we give him if we get rid of him.
Ah,
Where is it, what about?
Wait, okay, so wait,
let's
we're-
go
I
to
don't mean to be
retirement.
crass, but let's move
We're
on.
good on 2-1?
What's your?
I think we're good at 2-1, if I can
Okay.
see.
What about 2.2?
2-2.
I'm good on 2-2.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the rest
Everybody's
of
Good
good
them.
on
on
2-2.
2-2?
Are we good on 2-2?
2-3,
I think we've got it figured out.
That's good.
are
Down
we
to
good on
2-6,
2-3?
which is Chris's question, 2-6 about the car.
Oh, 2-3 insurance, that's, I agree with that. Holidays and leaves, I agree with that. Daytime off, that's fine.
2-6 now?
And I'm assuming you're not abusing I'm gonna take some extra time because I've worked a lot of time.
No,
Because you don't have time to do that,
I
right?
don't. In fact, I started having Marguerite count my time. I give her a slip and I can't use it. I don't
You
have.
just stop. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
if you wanna go up north.
I think at the
go up
end of the
north
year, I
North.
had 30 hours and I only started counting like 2 months before
And honest to God, you're not paid to work 40 hours a week. You're paid to work.
a million.
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
Yes.
And
he
I do,
does,
and
more
I
than
do,
that.
Yeah,
so.
and I know that
And
that's how that works.
I track the time just so I know,
I know.
that when I get
Don't do it, it's really depressing.
but when I get a migraine or something, I know that I can just go
Go
home
home, yeah.
and I don't have to worry about it. you know.
Using some sick time or using some, right.
Right, and I had almost 90 hours of PTO left at the end of the year too. So and
Don't you
I
guys
can't-
use that now, please?
Well, we're supposed to put it in a healthcare savings plan.
Oh, do it.
Anything over 40. Yeah.
What number are we on, people?
2-6.
2-6, the
The
automobile,
automobile.
still on that one.
Back to the automobile.
Boy, I still have a problem with that. Because you have a nice car now. The other option is to not have a car at all and just use your personal vehicle and charge us for all mileage.
I don't like that.
I think
No,
that
no,
that would.
I don't like
be-
that at all.
We don't,
Yeah.
then we don't pay insurance, we don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah, but that can,
I like that
that's why we're buying vehicles at work. It's cheaper to have the vehicle.
I know,
than
but you'll
pay
find the
mileage.
person that's keeping track of the mileage doesn't do a very good job.
Well, the way we do it is if I go someplace, in order to get reimbursement, you Google Maps the shortest
Yep.
distance, and that's what you get paid for, regardless of if you.
Oh, so you don't keep track?
No.
So it's not counting the time that you spend running around the city you're in or
No.
anything
No,
like
it's
Just
that?
from point
literally
A to
point
point
A to
B.
point B.
Shortest
Okay.
distance on Google Maps.
Short, yep, and that's all I get paid for. So if I take a
Okay.
jaunt to Grand Rapids on my way to Kalamazoo,
Yeah,
it's not.
I don't have a problem with this.
if that's how you do it,
I
I'm
don't
fine
either.
with it. I'm
I don't
okay with
either.
it if that's how you do it.
That-
Is
that's-
is
that's
that
all.
vehicle pretty good, Matt? Does it have a lot of mileage or
It's
runs
got-
good?
Well, we put a lot of bells and whistles on it.
It does. It's a good vehicle. I'll say this: we plan on keeping it for a very long time. So even when we get rid of the next police car, I'll probably still have that one, and we'll have Don drive the police car, or we'll sell it.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll need to get rid of the Tahoe anytime soon. It's a good car, but I wouldn't want to keep it overnight in places in big cities because it's a target for vandalism.
I think
So
you
it-
got a point there.
It'll last us a while.
I think it will, as long as we take care of it. We get oil changes, keep track of it. It's under 100,000 miles, so it's a good vehicle. So I should have it for quite a long time, unless something catastrophic happens.
The other thing with that is, we used to talk about it at work, is when we go do overnights, conferences, training, schooling, anything like that, you're gonna go out, go to dinner, you might go have a drink. You don't wanna take the company vehicle if you're gonna be
That's the other
doing your personal running around and all that.
I agree, and an overnight, then no, then you should
Yeah.
take your own vehicle,
Yeah.
but anything else, I think it should be.
There are situations where you go to a conference and after class, everybody goes to the bar.
Exactly.
And I don't wanna be in charge of a company vehicle if I've had a beer or two. Not that I would drive drunk, but even if I'm going from across the street to the parking spot.
You can put an
it's-
Uber sticker
It's
on it.
just not,
Yeah. Put
it
a
wouldn't be
sticker.
comfortable having a company.
You gotta go to the hotel bar.
Yeah.
I think we're comfortable with
Don't
it.
have a drive.
I'm good with 2-6.
We're good with 2-6.
2-6 is good, okay.
Any question about 2-7?
I'm good with 2-7.
I have a question. Right now, we're paying ICMA, MEDA, and Michigan Local Government Management,
Mhm.
the memberships. You still want those three, Matt?
The ones I want are the MME, Michigan Municipal Executives, which is the MLGMA, they changed their name, which is the most valuable because it's the local Michigan chapter. ICMA is good because it gives me access to all of the national information of things we may, want to address in the future. And those are pretty much the only two that I think are valuable for me.
So.
Is the Michigan
the-
Municipal League and the Michigan Municipal Executives the same thing?
They're not the same, they are affiliated though.
You don't like the Michigan Municipal League?
The-
You think
well,
that's just a big
well,
part?
we are a member as the village,
Yes,
so I don't have to be a personal member.
okay,
So, for instance, I'm, as a representative of the village, the president of MML, what?
you're the one that goes to the MML.
Yeah, that goes there, but the president of the MML appointed me to their finance committee. So I get to be involved in the internal workings of the MML, and we get to decide what they lobby for. So that's the value of the organizational membership, but the Michigan Municipal Executives is, for the individual. So that's my membership to them, to learn about stuff, training, and basically network with colleagues, you know, and that's a
Well,
big advantage.
That's a good thing,
The
there's
three-
nothing wrong with that.
The three before, you wouldn't have all those three, but just the memberships alone were almost 1,000. So you wouldn't have all those three.
No, the MEDA one, I haven't been getting value of it, and I was a member of that because I'm the executive director of the DDA.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were a bigger DDA and had more things going, it might be valuable, but I don't think it is, and I can get some of the value from that through the MML and the
Oh,
MM.
so you drop that one.
I would drop that one, yeah.
And how much would the membership be for MME?
I think it's a couple $100.
And then MML?
We pay that no matter what,
Yeah,
Diane.
we pay
Okay.
that no matter what. The ICMA is a percentage of my salary, so I don't know
That's
exactly.
around, is that around 500 then?
Around there, it's a certain percentage of my salary each year, yeah.
Should we put,
We've always been a part of the ICMA because that's where our 457 is through.
do we need and it says other organizations and local clubs, do we need a
It says
A
approved by
dollar?
village, Diane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Do we need a dollar limit on this, or
No,
just?
he has to come and ask us.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta be approved by us
Yeah.
before.
I think the ones listed in here are probably gonna be a given, but if I find something else I wanna do, I think it'll bring value to me and the village, I'll come and say, hey, I'd like to join this.
Can I join the Boy Scouts, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
We
I
all
just
good
was,
with 2.7?
Yes.
2.7 apparently is approved,
Okay.
Is, okay.
okay. 2.8, attendance at conferences,
Good.
no question. 2.9, business expenses. 2.10. 2.11,
Cell phone, do you use, is that a personal cell phone too?
No.
I mean, you don't use it for the personal?
No, I have 2 cell phones.
Okay.
I keep my own, and then this is the bat phone. I keep it with me at all times, but I don't.
Can we all
use
have the number to your personal cell phone?
it. No, absolutely not.
I don't even have it.
Oh,
geez, Matt.
Grandma got it? It's grandma got it?
Well, you gotta be
Okay.
careful with personal cell phones. I don't want my phone FOIA'd.
Quit trying to get his name and number and everything.
No, I just want his personal cell phone so I can get hold of him if I have to.
Well, 2.11,
if the,
executive compensatory.
He's never not answered the other one, you understand, but
Well, with the paid time off thing, if I were to go on vacation, like out of country, I would give you my personal cell phone.
okay.
I'm sure you'll make consideration as to, we do need to get a hold of you sometime.
Yeah, yeah, I'll take a CB radio with me.
Okay, 2.11, nothing. Article 3, 3.1, indemnification. Nothing there. 3.2.
Yeah, I don't understand that one.
That's gonna be pretty standard
Okay,
indemnification. You
I wanna
have to
know.
Yeah,
indemnify.
actually, that provision is very normal in all these kinds of contracts.
The whole Article 3?
Yeah,
it is.
3.1, yeah, all of them actually, the 3.1 is that, you know, any liability is covered through the insurance policy of the village.
didn't mark that
so
up.
part of that.
You didn't, okay.
Article 4. Term. Effective term of this agreement. We have to make some changes in there, I think.
No, I mean, if he says it, if that's
No.
in our code of ordinances and Diane says it is, I'm gonna have to go look that up. That,
do we have an ordinance book here?
No, but that's, I'm gonna,
Well, they do.
I'm not gonna pull it out and do that.
Jen's got one in her office.
So 4.1, would that be then April 1, 2019, be the new date?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, that should be first.
Cause you're gonna stay at where you are until April 1. And then the new contract will be April to April.
Yeah.
Well, April to March.
4.2.
Is that going to be acceptable when we said we had a deadline for February first, though? If we say
I think
that we're
as long
just-
as it's
No, I think that
approved.
was-
It would be because we, the contract, the actual written contract goes from till,
Till November.
to November 2019, so we can change this contract that the new date, that will continue until April 1, and this contract kicks in place in April 1 of this year.
I
No
think
one will
February second
supersede.
is something we
Yes.
give ourselves.
Right,
It was never really,
okay.
It's like one of those, I have to have a deadline or else I
Yeah.
won't do it type
Yeah.
thing.
How about the agreement renewal? Are we satisfied with that?
Yeah, it
Because
says,
well,
it
it
has to
is,
be.
it
it
has to
says
be.
the village president shall appoint by and with the consent of the village council, a village manager to serve for an indefinite period.
Yep.
He may be removed by the president at any time. The president for cause so deems it for the public interest, but only after a full hearing before the council. He shall be selected solely on the basis of his executive and administrative qualifications with special reference to his training and experience and without regard to race, religion, or political preferences. He need not be a resident of the village at the time of his appointment, but shall be strongly encouraged, but not required to reside in the village thereafter during his term of office.
Right, okay.
Does it say, is it a 5-3 vote to terminate?
It is in my contract, but it's not in the ordinance.
It's not in the ordinance. What's in the ordinance?
I don't think
By a
there's.
majority?
I think it's just majority.
Cause the village president cannot just remove you.
It has to be a vote, but
You
you
can
figure
call for it,
two-thirds vote, that's a weird number for 7 people.
It is.
It is interesting to mention the president because, you know,
No,
he's hired by the council. So
Yeah.
it seems like the council would have to have the authority to do that.
Yeah, and
as
all it
opposed to one
says is
person.
he may be removed by the president at any time the president for cause shown deems it for the public interest, but only after a full hearing before
But
the
see,
council.
But that covers that,
Council decides
Dick
anyway.
can't remove him, he has to have a whole hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
But I thought it was, just need 4 votes.
okay, but yeah, when you've got the 2/3 majority down here on 4.3.
That's just an extension of my previous contract.
But I think that's an odd number for 7 people.
I think
So,
you need to take out 2/3 and just put majority vote of the village council.
Can we do that?
Are you
Mr.
agreeable
Campbell?
to that?
That is legally possible, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we can take that 2/3 right out.
If that's the desire of the council.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm agreeable, I'm agreeable
Okay.
to that.
Is that agreeable?
With or without calls by majority vote.
I think that was put in when I first got here, just
Okay.
as a safety measure for me.
A little nervous?
How about the next one?
Well, it was my first,
It's your first contract,
first go,
actually.
yeah.
It was his first contract. At will agreement, so all we're doing is crossing out 2/3.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the next one, notice of nation.
Yeah,
30 days each way, that's.
30 days is fine,
That's
because
fine.
if
That's a long
if we
time.
don't want you, that's fine, and if you don't want us, that's fine, we should just move on.
Article 5, termination for cause.
Now, here's where I have my problem. Okay, Mr. Lane may be terminated for cause, and this is gonna be for, don't take this personally, this is for anybody. Only for theft, willful blatant dishonesty, or felony criminal conviction, and to me, those are all just no-brainers, why you're gonna have a village manager like that. Can cause mean other things, Mr. Campbell?
It has to be a material breach, is sort of the legal term. In other words, it just can't be any kind of thing. It has to be something that's very serious and jeopardizes, you know, the integrity of the village and, you know, and so on. So I know it was suggested before, like, no, it doesn't follow the will of the council. I think that's probably not sufficient. I mean, it's not we're looking more into moral turpitude, these kind of things. It's an example. This one has, as it mentions, theft, willful blatant dishonesty, or felony criminal conviction. The current contract states moral turpitude, misconduct, dishonesty, fraud, criminal legal infractions, insubordination, incompetency, inefficiency, or if manager materially breaches the terms and conditions of the agreement. So it's more expansive.
Could we put that language in there?
Can I ask you, is willful, blatant dishonesty, if the manager just refuses to do what we say, isn't that willful, blatant
That's not
dishonesty?
dishonesty, that's just.
I don't think it's dishonesty, no.
That would be
Okay, then
insubordination.
Insubordination is the one that's in the other contract, and that's again, that issue involves if the council votes that the manager do something, or the council as a whole votes to do that, then there's the issue that's basically a command to do it.
Yeah.
And if it's willfully disregarded, that would be, I guess you look at insubordination, which is mentioned in this other,
Can we put
current
that
agreements.
definition that you got there into the end of this one?
In-
Into
in-
this one?
The only reason I'm concerned about it, I'm not sure what you have with it, but I'm not even talking about Matt. I'm talking about when we negotiate someone else's, or someone else negotiates someone else's contract down the road.
Right.
And some of the words are left out and they don't get put in, and that guy does it right away, then
They're stuck.
they're stuck. So I like to have the words in there, that's in that one, in the first one.
Okay, so the words, now I'll just repeat this again now, this is in the current contract. Moral turpitude, misconduct, dishonesty, fraud, criminal or legal infractions, insubordination, incompetency, inefficiency, or if manager materially breaches the terms and conditions of this agreement.
I like those.
I like those. Do you? Dick?
I like those.
Happy? Are you okay with that?
So how would we say, maybe,
I asked him
Oh.
if he was okay
maybe
with
Are you with
it.
terminate
that?
for calls?
Yeah.
You're not gonna do any of that
It is
stuff.
much
right?
different than what you
No.
got.
Okay.
It's just-
I don't plan to do any of that stuff. My problem is what's the definition of some of those words?
Well, yes, and I can see where, with some of the stuff that was said in there, you might be concerned about some of the words that are over there. This is,
Because
and I don't think that's
because
not
the
gonna
specific
happen.
definition of those words for this purpose may be different from the general definition of the concepts we've talked about.
Yeah,
Well, you can argue, and Mr. Campbell can tell you this, if you wanna hang up a court case real quick, all you do is try to define a term, you know what I mean? So you can argue that in court for probably a good 3 years, I think,
Or more.
yeah.
The one word I have is here is like, I guess is inefficiency. I don't really know, that's not really even a legal term, I don't know where that came from. Obviously, that is so vague.
well, inefficiency, I don't agree with, because that's something we should deal with him separately for.
Yeah, I don't
And
see
if
that
you
as a.
continue to be inefficient, we'll find a different reason to.
I guess I would recommend leaving that word out.
Okay,
I think it's just too
Well,
Yeah,
if-
you can't
vague.
define
you know.
No,
Good
you
point.
can't, no.
If you can prove consistent inefficiency, then you can prove insubordination.
Right,
Right,
right.
So if we
It's
take
just
that
like
part out.
overlapping.
but all the other terms look okay to you then in the
It
definition?
looks fine, yes.
Okay, let's take out the inefficiency one.
Okay.
So this whole thing, 4 point,
5 point,
or 5 point,
5.1.
will be changed for what it says over there, except for
In
the
the
one
old
word.
contract.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Good with that, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. Without cause.
Termination without cause. Ooh, that
The
was-
9 months.
Yeah.
That was the issue. I think the thing looks good otherwise, but the question was the.
The 9 months, we talked
90
about that
days
last
versus
time.
9 months. That's-
Yeah.
I think I had 12 months last time. And
12 months?
yeah, that was my,
Oh, you had it in here, 12
yeah,
months.
I had it.
And you've gone down to
lowered it.
9, is what you're
I've gone
saying.
down to 9.
Huh.
What I have is 3, what I'm asking for is 9.
So he wants a negotiation in between there.
I don't think we should pay any more than 3, I think 3 is plenty.
Yeah.
That's 90 days.
That's not a lot, that's not enough time to find a job in this industry.
No, but you go back to financial and get a job really easy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's not that you're unemployable.
Right. So here's my thing. What I want is 6 months. That is typical for city managers in most communities.
That's reasonable.
That's what Hal had in his contract. Right? Most city managers have 6 months. That's roughly enough time for me to go out and at least find some kind of job that'll help me pay the bills.
Well, have you ever heard of 6 months or until new employment? Or would you take it in cash, chunk? You don't have to, you don't have to.
I don't
answer
know.
that.
I haven't thought about.
You don't have to answer that, never mind.
I haven't considered if I would need it.
Yes.
I mean, I hope I never need it. but,
You know what I have a problem with is if you get rid of somebody and they go get a job right away, and then he's getting double paid,
Right.
like a bonus, because we fired him and.
yeah. But think
That's
of
my
it-
problem.
The way I think of it is this: if I'm fired for no reason, that's the stick for you not to fire me for no reason. And if I do get fired for no reason, then you gotta pay me.
And
I
it
can't
says,
see that we're not, that we're gonna fire you for no reason. I
It's
can,
it's not that I believe you will. It's that you may not be here in 6 years or 10 years.
I won't,
You know.
I'm done.
I'd be fine with 6 months.
like, and I did the math on it, so say where it'd be 4 years where he's getting a salary of 72,072.
Yeah.
6 months of that is just over 36,000.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's not that bad.
No,
I'd be
6
fine with
months
the
isn't
6
that
months.
bad.
Months is okay.
Yeah.
so change everything in there,
You're
9
agreeable
to
with
6.
6?
Yep.
And our,
See, I'll go along with it, but I'm telling you, I think 3 is plenty.
Okay. Diane, you think 3's plenty too?
Well, then health insurance goes on too, right, for the
Yes.
6 months?
6 months. But then he has the right to do COBRA, which everybody does. That's a law,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, 6 months is all right.
These are things you put in hoping that
It's
it'll
hard,
happen.
it's hard to get another one of these jobs, because first you gotta find where there's one available.
Right.
So we're all set with the 5-2 now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
we're
move to
saying
5-3,
6 months,
resignation.
right?
6
Okay.
months.
No, I'll just,
And another thing that's typical too, and I think Gary can probably speak to this, is a lot of times if, say in 5 years, I have a terrible evaluation and council wants to get rid of me, but they don't really have a reason, what they do is sometimes they negotiate an exit. And you can do that too. You can negotiate the terms of your exit, and then it'll be, okay, I'll resign instead of getting fired, but you still pay me some of my, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that happens a lot. And
And it's never more than what's in here.
Generally.
Right, yeah.
you know that?
I'm telling you, it's never gonna be more
Okay.
than what's in there.
So we agreeable on the resignation?
Mr. Kimball, my concern is, when I look at a contract, I think a contract has to be valid on 2 sides. You know what I mean? I don't think
Correct.
I just don't think, I don't like one-sided contracts. And to me, all the specific language in here, looks more about protecting Matt as opposed to protecting the village. So do you see anything in here, any other thing that we need to protect our residents and our taxpayers here? We don't represent just ourselves when we're sitting here, we have a lot of people depend on us. Do we need any other language in here to do that?
You know, I've gone through this, I think this adequately covers it, I think the language is fine, I think the issues really were the terms of that. You're looking at salary and the benefits and so on, but I think the terminology is standard terminology. I've dealt with various contracts over the years, and for corporations as well as for municipalities, and I think this agreement, I think is phrased properly, it's in proper legal language, and it covers the interests of both the council as well as the employee. And to answer your question, I firmly believe that, this protects the council. There's nothing in here that's going to jeopardize the council or, hoodwink the council or do anything of that sort. It definitely protects the interests that you have in being an employer.
Because I know that you talk to Mr. Lane a lot, but I know the rest of us think of you as our lawyer too, you know, I mean, you.
Well, I
Well,
am,
he is our
I am, my responsibility as your attorney is to be your attorney. I'm the attorney for the council.
Right,
And that's, you're my,
and he's our agent, and so he deals with you.
right,
More
basically
frequently.
as an agent of the council in a way,
But
because.
if he wants to use a lawyer, he has to get his own lawyer.
Well, no, I realize
Yeah,
that,
he
yeah,
can't use
no,
Mr.
I
Lane.
realize, but I just wanna make sure that we are adequately protected,
Yes.
and if you say, I will trust you on that one.
You make a good point on that, and it's, my responsibility is to protect the interests of the council, and going through this agreement, I firmly believe that it does cover things legally and properly, and it does protect you as the employer.
Okay, can you tell me what 6.2 means?
Okay. Let me see here.
Like, if we fire him and he thinks he shouldn't have been fired, and he sues us,
You're gonna keep it out of federal court,
okay,
basically.
so it's just gonna stay in Saginaw County, but do we have to pay his attorney then?
If I lose. most likely.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Let's see here.
The prevailing party in any action.
Yeah, the prevailing party, so in other words, if the council wins, he has to pay your attorney's fees. And, or if he wins, he pay his, it's not necessarily has to be in there, in other words, this is a provision that it's in a lot of contracts. I'm working on one right now for a company, and this is the provisions, it's in there, that the prevailing party, what that idea is talking about actual regional attorney's fees means that, you know, litigation is a serious business, and it sort of puts both sides on jeopardy, that this would be pretty serious in a situation where this could put the council at jeopardy, or could put the employee at jeopardy, because if he loses, he's gonna have to pay your attorney's fees. But we feel, as a council, feel strongly that we have a good case, and we win, then he's got to pay hours, so
It's just to keep it on, my point is to keep it serious, right? I mean, so that it's not a frivolous action, so that you understand the consequences if he decides to sue us. And he's just in a twit, you know what I mean? Then he's gonna have to pay, you know, if he loses, he has to pay all of it. That keeps us from being frivolous as well. You know,
So
you
it
have
means
to-
if we want to fire a manager, don't do it stupidly.
Yes.
Because he can sue you and really get
You know,
more
that's
money.
it, you make such a good point, Chris, you make such a good
Yeah.
point, because we've had cases in this area, the client.
I was
primary-
one of them, okay?
the pri-
Me and Mr. Krozak. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I remember years ago when I was young, Merrill, terminated his police chief, apparently was doing a terrible job, I don't know anything about it, but that's what you heard, but they did it the wrong way, it's the old story, they thought, well, let's get rid of him, well, they didn't follow the procedures, and they got burned on it. He prevailed because he went to court and said, here's the policies, they didn't do 1, 2, and 3, they wrongly terminated me, but had he done it right,
It would have been okay.
it'd been okay.
Yeah, see, and I want to tell you just one more thing. When I got fired, the month after my evaluation, I received excellence across the board and got fired the next month.
Yeah.
Which is
So-
insane.
It is.
So don't feel bad about your evaluation at all, because it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I didn't, I
honestly
marked
feel
my
good
papers,
about
and I didn't have
Yeah.
any problem with
I feel
it, because
good.
I
I
thought
hope
that
it's
this
helpful,
It
and you
is.
look at it.
serious about what they're doing rather
Because
than
that
going
man should have
off
said
on a
something in that
tangent, right?
evaluation.
It gives one
Fired
second
me the next
thought.
month.
Yeah, right, it's like, well, now, do we really wanna do this, and to me, that makes it serious, I don't have a problem with it, that didn't get marked up.
So, I guess then, I think we've gone through everything.
Yeah.
So I guess we have to take a vote then by the council to approve the contract with the amended changes, and then I can then draft it up, and then we would have to get it to, I'll need to get someone to the council, or I guess I could send it to manage somebody, and you need the council to review it to make sure it comports with what you agreed with.
So
this
we can
evening.
actually sign this at the February meeting and still be,
Well, what I was
in-
thinking is, we technically have a council meeting on Saturday
Yeah.
oh, we do.
for our budget,
This
annual
Saturday.
goal setting.
I'm trying to
session.
do anything other than not have a meeting on the second Wednesday, because I'm going to be gambling, it's my birthday time.
Oh.
So I don't wanna have another.
So
meeting in
technically,
February.
Yeah, let's have our priorities of gambling
That's right.
Yeah.
versus,
So-
okay.
So I
It's a
guess
big
technically,
birthday.
we've posted the public meeting on the door and in the various places we're supposed to. So we can add an agenda item.
You can agenda item, I can have this done before then, so I can get it to Matt, and he can then present it to all of you to see the final copy, and if there's anything that is amiss, I can make a change, or you can make the change here, with council, but I have everything written down here, so
Yeah.
I have it
And I think
properly.
what I was trying to make the point of is, we had the salary is good now till April 1st. So no matter when we sign that contract, it's not really gonna take place until April 1st anyway.
Yes.
So we don't have to rush into
Right.
signing it, but as soon as possible.
The only
would be good.
question is, so we're at a point basically where we have an agreed contract, I think, am I correct?
If you feel that
Yeah.
way, yes, I do.
If the amendment says it has to be done by February 1st, do we meet that threshold right now? So,
No.
I mean,
Well,
take
if
a
we
look
get
at
it, if
amendments.
you can get it done for Saturday,
Well, if we get it Saturday,
Yeah,
then there's
yeah,
no
there's
issue.
no
but-
problem.
or
Will you
talk-
just copy it and give it to us Saturday, or do you intend to?
I'll probably email it to those
before
who
that?
want it.
I thought
and-
we agreed that the February first thing was just an agreement amongst us that we didn't have.
But it's
down.
in there.
It's
I
in
did
It's
see
in
it,
there, though.
Chrissy, I
Yes.
just noticed now, I'm looking at the number
Oh,
three.
he put it in there.
Yeah, I put it, so the employer and the manager shall have an evaluation of the manager and negotiate and enter into a new manager employment contract no later than February 1, 2019.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the.
Okay, then
amended
Saturday.
contract.
Saturday it is. We'll add it.
That's
This
protect Chris's
Saturday.
gambling, it
Yeah.
says.
Ignore it.
yes.
No, I agree, it needs to be done. If we said we're gonna do it by February first, we need to
Okay.
do it by February first.
Well, you can do that part without me. If I'm not here, it's okay.
What, February
If you wanna
1st?
have another meeting, go ahead.
No. Let's do it.
In,
Do it Saturday.
in January.
Up until this point, I always thought I liked you.
You need to order now.
Get yourself
Yeah,
a
I'm
rubber
thinking, I
band there.
don't know.
Lady.
Big birthday.
You need it?
You gotta go away. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll go
we
on
need
Saturday.
Mr.
Old
President,
ladies
do we
do
need a
that with their
motion to adjourn?
checkbooks when they put in
All
their.
right.
Ow.
Okay, Lois?
Do you need a motion on that?
We need a motion now to
Okay.
approve the contract as amended by the council this
Okay.
evening.
I make a motion that we approve, Matt's the village manager's contract as amended.
I'll second.
Support?
Support? Aye?
Aye.
Roll call?
Do you want a
Oh,
roll
yeah,
call?
roll call.
Is it a required vote?
Doesn't
It's
have to
not
be.
required, but if you want to, it's.
I think it'd be a good idea
Let's just do it to make sure we get full consensus here.
for posterity.
Yes.
Trustee Sarah Tiley,
Yes.
trustee Diana Coots,
Yes.
trustee Christine Newman,
Yes.
president Richard Horner,
Yes.
trustee Diane
Yes.
Dennis, trustee Jim McPhail,
Yes.
and trustee Lois Tiley.
Yes.
Let's see, we can
And Jenny,
agree.
can I make this easier on her?
What,
Whenever we have a roll call vote, just go
last names?
Tiley, just right down the road.
Oh,
Just
the
last
problem-
names,
the
right down the
problem-
road.
Two Tileys.
Oh, we do?
Yep.
No, we got one on each end though, so we're good.
So you
Oh,
say-
that's Tyler, one's L Tyler.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's not good, oh, that's not
Are
good.
you asking for trouble?
Okay.
Me?
Did you say old Tiley and young Tiley?
No. I
Yes,
didn't.
you did.
Oh, okay.
We call her Big Sarah because we got another Sarah Tyler.
Okay,
So she's Big Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
That's
good.
rude too.
sorry. Knew what you're doing, it's fine.
Okay.
Thank you for waiting patiently.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, she does.
He's
I
gonna
make a
bill
motion
us.
to
They told
I
us
make a
that in
motion
law
we
school,
adjourn.
you'll be
I'll
patient and wait.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, 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 aye.
Yeah, wait till you see the bill on that, you know.
Oh, tomorrow morning. so
Pay
it
by
comes
the
so
hour.
It'll be
early.
fine.
I'm very happy with you as our village
You're gonna go out
attorney.
from here?
I
Why
trust
tell
your
them?
advice, and that's based on.
You never know if
Sure, you just pass it on.
So when I asked her,
I'm
I
going
take
home.
it
I don't want,
I got so
Our
full
insurance
now.
might not
I
have their
used
own
to work for a
attorney.
lawyer, and I have
I'll send her an email.
a daughter that's a lawyer, and my
Choose
opinion
why-
of lawyers
What do you mean?
is very,
Where's that
That's a
picture
request
at?
for
no, but I
deposition.
trust you.
Dog?
I'm glad you
Look
have
over
it.
that's why
I was wondering.
Huh?
it's bad, and I think it's because
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
office.
Oh, are you
They don't
kidding
really
me?